Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Tuesday morning. Big show for you today. Austin Ainge is going to join us at 8:30. What are the Utah Jazz thinking as they close in on the draft? How much will Austin tell us? We'll talk with him at 8:30. Looking forward to that. We got to get to the NBA playoffs. Cleveland checking out, literally and figuratively. The Knicks. Incredible run, great run. I know the East isn't very good. I'll argue it's watered down all day, but I still got to say I'm impressed anytime a team wins 11 straight playoff games. Now, maybe it does mean the rest of the conference isn't very good, but it's still 11 in a row, and that's hard to do. And by the margins they've been doing it, outrageous. Stunned that Colorado is in danger of getting swept tonight in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Vegas struggled with Utah, but Vegas, they are they're up 3-0 on Colorado. It's amazing. We'll get to all of that coming up. Real Salt Lake, a 1-1 draw. They split the points in Minnesota, had the lead, gave up a goal, 90+3. They were just doing too much defending. I mean, when you're that close to winning, you want the win. But really, if you look at all the chances that were created, whose end of the field were they playing in, splitting the points is fair. They did not outplay Minnesota and deserve to win that game. They had the lead. They were close. But Minnesota scored, so 1 point. But 26 points in 14 games, third place in the West. It's been a very good start. Now it's a 7-week break. And no World Cup for Diego Luna, barring some kind of dramatic, last-second injury here. No World Cup for Diego Luna. No World Cup for Xavier Gozo. It's going to make it much harder for both guys to get sold for the big money that RSL and the Miller family want. So them missing the World Cup is sad from the fandom point of view, but if you want them to stay with the team and have a big second half of the season, I think secretly you got to be pretty excited about this. Pablo Mastroeni talking about the 1-1 result in Minnesota, and Pablo Mastroeni on the World Cup decisions. Here he is after the game.
So Zach Booth gets the goal, but he also put in a heck of a defensive shift. What did that two-way play look like for you from the bench?
Yeah, I thought he had a fantastic game. I think it's a position that he's still getting to understand, but I think there's a lot of moments defensively where he did a great job covering Dre. Excuse me. And just being in good positions. His adaptation has been really fast to defensively in particular. And then obviously he's been an attacking player the majority of his life. And so his change of speed, decision-making with the ball, and then obviously the finish today was fantastic. So again, I think it's, these young guys continue to impress, even when they play in different positions. It's pretty amazing to see these guys continue to grow and, raise the level for the rest of the group.
In Dallas specifically, we talked a lot about structure and breaking down the low block. What did you see as far as improvement goes against another low block team?
Yeah, I think today our structure was better. I think our execution was poor. All right, so the structure, you can see it. The guys are in great positions. We had a hard time holding the ball up with our front three. And anytime you do that, the game's going to be really transitional, really choppy. And we were never able to gain control with the ball. So the guys were in good positions, but it just felt like we could never hold the ball up and bring our midfield into the game, which then brings our wingbacks into the game, which allows us to pin teams higher up the field. So again, like I told the guys today, if we're honest with ourselves, we didn't play well. We didn't execute well. But what we did do is work our tails off in spite of that. And I believe that if you're committed to that type of work when things aren't going well, oftentimes you're going to come away with a point. And so, just given our lack of execution on the day, I think it's a fair result. It had been great to come away with 3, but it had been a bit fortuitous in that regard.
Were a lot of giveaways.
A lot of giveaways.
The set pieces, though, were strong the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
How frustrating is it to give up some points right at the death?
Yeah. It's something that we've been talking about. I think this is our 8th set piece goal conceded this year. 7th. And that's just a lot, right? That's just a lot. And so it's something that we worked on this week. It's something that we've talked about as a group. And to be fair to the guys, they defended a ton of free kicks, a ton of corners, a ton of long throws. And I just think if you put yourself in those positions, at some point the ball is going to bounce a certain way. In that particular goal, I think we could have done better with the marking in the box. And so that's where that's frustrating. But I think overall the guys did a really good job against a team that just thrives with putting balls in the box with their size and causing havoc, and it's just disappointing, obviously, at the end with 3 minutes left to concede that goal.
I was going to ask just because it's last game before World Cup, but that might be the answer. Just what do you want the biggest improvement to be during the break?
Yeah, I think that is obviously going to be a feature of our preseason. And again, it's like the thing with training free kicks, it's like training PKs. They're the worst to train because there's nothing on the line. So if it goes in, it's kind of like, so how do you train the emotional context, the urgency piece? And so we've done some things where we have some money on the line. The guys have put money on the line and play money ball, and that part's good. And again, I think over 90 minutes, the guys did a really good job on that phase. My whole thing is it's about if the setup is really clear, and our mentality's right, we'll just be better at set pieces. And I hope the pendulum swings the other way where, we're scoring some more set pieces and not giving away as much. And then the other part too is just continuing to improve in every phase of the game. I think teams throw different looks at us, and we've got to be able to, like today, I think it was the execution piece. We were just poor. A lot of balls, simple plays, just turn the ball over. But again, it's a really, really young group. And most of those guys up front don't have a lot of experience, right? And understanding when you can play for fouls as well, because they're so honest, they're getting smashed and they're staying on their feet, right? And so this is all about experience. This is how you grow. But again, I'm just really proud of the first part of the season. We've established the kind of identity we want as a group in all phases of the game, and more importantly, the mentality. And we just want to improve as we come back from break.
Given that clarity of identity and then, questions about the execution of this one, while still getting a point in a crucial 6-pointer in the Western Conference, how are you feeling about the timing of this break, and ultimately how are you going to be able to try to sustain some of that momentum when games resume in July?
Yeah. Well, the break is what it is. Those are things we can't control. And big believer in that, when you start talking about these things, you take your eye off what you can control. And so, I think it'll allow us to get guys like, Luna back in the fray, Morgan back in the fray. Two guys that have been a big part of our attacking identity this year. So get those guys back. But again, I think, Aiden going out there, Lineker doing a good job when he came in, Gozo, Serge, Zach Booth. These are all guys that are just cutting their teeth. And to see them perform in a very difficult place against a really good team, I think speaks volumes of what our expectations need to continue being, and more importantly, how do we come into these places with a young group and understand how do we mature from this game and gain a bit of experience so that we can utilize that down the road.
As you look back on the last, let's say, 30 hours, you mentioned Luna, you mentioned Gozo, obviously. Big calls coming in yesterday for the national team and you having participated in World Cups as well. How would you describe what this moment has been like, and how do you feel about there?
Yeah, I think it's tough. I think even Gozo, who hasn't had a cap with the national team, but has been playing extremely well. And, I think form going in the World Cup is one of the criteria that's critical. You got 3 games to get out of the group. And I just felt like he might have been a long shot, but I felt like his attributes to a 26-man roster would be really good in moments where you need to change the game. And I think he's shown his quality in front of goal. I think he's shown his ability to really threaten back line. So I just thought he had a chance, and he did as well. And then obviously Luna, I guess the part with Luna is that it's an interesting decision for me. I think that he was in 2025, the national team really leaned on him, both as a attacking player, but also a mentality piece. And Pochettino referenced his ability to fight and I just think that in a cup where you need a difference maker, some guy who's going to come into a game where the stage will never be too big. I just thought that. So obviously I hurt for the guys. I remember waiting for those calls and wasn't sleeping literally the weeks leading into it. But to be fair, they're both in a good way. They both know that the only way to get back there is to do well with us here in RSL. So disappointed for them, hurt for them. but I know they'll bounce back.
I think a lot of us who haven't been in the locker room at a World Cup maybe undervalue the importance of guys who aren't in the starting lineup every single week and whatever. But can you talk just a little bit about the importance of, I suppose, 23 when you played, but also 26, being able to get a team that's going to have all those personalities like you've.
Yeah. I think that's it, and again, I think there's different ways to build the roster. I think from my experience, and especially in 2002. I was the 23rd player selected, and Bruce made it really clear to me that I'm just a rah-rah guy. I'm a hype man, but I train the right way. I challenge myself to get better every day. And as life would have it, I started the first game of that World Cup. So I think that everyone that's going is obviously a really important player on their club team, or the majority of the guys anyways. And I think if you don't get a good result in one of the games, the mood can easily sour within camp. And now you have guys, that are bickering about they should have been played and this and that. And I just think that part of the roster, it's critical to have hype men, for lack of a better word, because not only are they going to be hype men, but they also have the quality to come in and change the game. And I think for me, from my experience, it's a really critical component, because for people, I hear people talking about, we're definitely getting out of the group. The World Cup is a different beast. And even when you get to the next stage, if you squeak through, then the second round game is going to be a monster. And I feel that the vibe of the group is just as important as the quality of the players. And so, but I'm sure Poach will put together a good group that'll be ready for that.
You mentioned already the mentality he brought in 2025 with Diego, and I just to clarify kind of his absence from the squad today as well, and the lack of training there. What kind of conversations have you had with him as well about kind of understanding what's next for him with the club and how to?
Yeah. So to be fair, I've just sent him a note, and I just want to let it breathe a little bit. I'm sure he's getting calls from everyone, and I think I think that he did the same thing happened when it was the Olympics. And the one thing about Diego Luna is he plays with a chip on his shoulder. So I have no doubt that he'll use this moment to be a great motivator for him moving forward. Although it's not easy. And again, if I was a guy that had nothing, I didn't impact the national team, not even remotely close to the way Luna impacted the group last year in 2025 and the gold cup run they had. And so it'd be really difficult for me to even empathize or understand what he's going through, given the, the marketing and the advertising that has gone through with him, and so, but Diego's been a guy that has consistently overcome difficult hurdles in his career, both on the field and off the field. And again, I think he's going to be a stronger player for this, and he's got a great shot at the next one.
Pablo, you said that you wanted to see a different attitude and mentality on the road in general, but specifically versus what you saw in Dallas. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. I think, again, like in the first half, the amount of times we got in behind their defense, I thought caused a lot of problems. And so that, I think, is basically how are we staging the game? What do we want the game to look like? And then we found moments where we broke lines and went forward. But I think oftentimes, DJ, even in the first half and the second half, our execution in those moments let us down, right? So we were never able to sustain the type of pressure with the ball that makes us the team that we want to be. And so it's really interesting. So that part was really good. The execution wasn't of the level to be able to grow into the game. And so, and this is football. It's so crazy. You work on one thing. And so the structure was really good. Aiden Gozo between the lines, Serge occupying, some good balls over the top or breaking lines. But it was always like whenever we set it back, we never were able to bring our wingbacks into the game fully. The goal, again, that Zach scored, we did a good job of that. There's some good link play, but we were never able to do that consistently. And so the game was very transitional and also really choppy with all the set pieces.
Is it the kind of thing that if Morgan or Diego had been out there, it might have looked really different?
Oh, yeah. 100%. There's yes, they're difference makers, man. That's why they're the players that they are. They would have definitely brought calm to the game. And again, just understanding, because again, Gozo's been playing as a wingback all year, and then now he's playing as a 10, but he's really a stretch guy. So we're putting a lot on Aiden to be the guy that takes the sting out of the game, who maybe drops a layer deeper to get on the ball, to then find a 10 and then move forward into the attack. And these are things that come with time. There's no doubt that we missed Luna and Morgan, in particular on the attacking side of the game.
Was there any scenario where Luna could have been in the 20 today or the starting 11, or was it absolutely a no-go?
It was a no-go. He didn't do our extensive day, our Wednesday, which is big distances. And he didn't do it because he still had hamstring tightness. And so again, to put him into a game without having that day, it just puts him at risk. And now we're talking about, and the way we were thinking about it as well as like the national team as well. We want to make sure we put him in a good way, if he got called in. So, but it was also the right thing to do for our team, because again, if you do a hamstring, you're looking at, 4 to 8 weeks, and it doesn't do anyone any good to take a risk at this juncture of the season.
Do you think that hamstring tightness / injury played a role in him not making the team?
Oof, I'm not qualified to answer that. I'm not behind the scenes. I know you received an email letting him know that he was going to participate. But again, what I've seen in years past too, and it kind of happened to me in 2002. There's still training camp, and there's going to be some injuries. And so the most important thing is that mentally and physically he's prepared for any moment. But as far as their decision-making process, I have no idea.
That's how you made it, right? Weren't you told no originally, and then something happened, you got a second call?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that happened. We had a game in South Korea for a friendly, and to kind of see the lay of the land, and I got yanked in like 60th minute, and this guy was eating me alive. And I got called back in for the Gold Cup because Greg Berhalter went out as a center back, so I was playing center back. And we ended up winning the Gold Cup. And then after that, I was, again, just be real clear. Bruce called me and said, I'm going to the World Cup. And I said, great. And he said, you know why? And I said, well, I've been playing well as of late. He goes, no. He goes, you're a great teammate. You work your tail off, and you push everyone to be better. I'm the 23rd guy. He literally said it to me. So again, but you put yourself in contention by the way you carry yourself, the way you train, the way you do all these little things. And that's what I always try to share with the guys is someone's always watching, and you never know what little thing a certain coach desires in a certain moment. So I think it's great learning for the guys. Obviously, really difficult moment. But like I said, I think he'll bounce back and be stronger for it.
Given this 7 weeks off now, and in fact, the team won't be training for a while, you give the players, I don't know how much time you're going to give the players, but you give them quite a bit of time here. Does the focus change now to the coaching staff working with the front office, analyzing who might come in and who might be going and how you might replace him? Because this is a great start, but obviously there's a chance that rosters could change dramatically as they did a couple of years ago for RSL.
Yeah, I don't think it's about this time, DJ. We meet every week after every game, and we talk about our situation both on the field, how we want to continue to improve, but we also talk about player decisions and roster decisions. And so it's very collaborative in that regard. So nothing's going to be super shocking one way or the other. I think we could stay the course. And obviously we're talking about some additions to the group, and, different opportunities might pop up for other players elsewhere. And so I think it's just a natural break in action to where, we can assess a little bit more clearly, given that this part of the season's over. But those conversations are always happening.
Thank you, Pablo.
Yep.
Pablo, before the game starts, you'd probably be happy with the result, but maybe not in the 93rd minute, having it go that way. How do you address games like this, and how do you get a young team to kind of get over the hump and be able to kind of finish out games really consistently like this?
Yeah, I think, and if we're being honest, Brand, I don't think that we played to our standards today. And in particular, like I said earlier, our execution with the ball was really poor. And that's going to happen. And the other thing is the moment it's a big moment when you're playing on the road. It's not the same. Obviously, the 12th man for Minnesota, they got some really good experienced players all over the field. So it's not easy when you have 3 or 4 really young guys to overcome the nerves, overcome a couple poor touches to then be comfortable to get on the ball. That comes with experience. And so those guys are gaining a valuable lesson from this game. And the expectation is with a couple more of them, they'll continue to feel more comfortable to secure the ball a little bit better and bring our team forward so that we can attack the way we want to. So I think, 1-1, I don't think we deserve 3 necessarily, but given that we conceded in the 93rd minute, it obviously stings a little bit more, especially in a phase of the game that we've been really hyper vigilant training and talking about as a group. And so that part's difficult. But again, if you have to defend that many set pieces, the ball is going to bounce a certain way. So again, I think that's really the crux of it.
And you've given up a lot of goals, as mentioned, 7 set pieces, driven balls into the box.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be an Achilles heel, a bugaboo for the team for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a tactics issue, or is it do you have the players that can make a difference there, or is it at some point it become a roster question?
No. I think I think tonight, I don't know how many wide free kicks and fouls, and I don't know how many times they pump the ball in the box, whether it's throw-ins or free kicks. But anytime and this is why I was talking about the execution piece, because if we're better with the ball, we're negating a lot of those opportunities, right? But if you have to defend that many of them, there's so much randomness in the game of soccer that you can't find on stats, right? So even though we can set it on a set piece, the game is so random, and the ball's going to bounce a certain way when you're throwing it 30 yards into the box, or you're kicking balls into the box. And that's why they do it. It's not because it's necessarily a set play as much as it is you're playing for second phase actions. And tonight we got done on a second phase action. So the point is, like, we can continue to improve on set pieces. However, we can't give away that many set pieces. And if we're better with the ball and execute with the ball, we'll be able to now impose ourselves on our opponents in a way that we're not giving away so many set pieces. So the game is always connected. Oftentimes we like to break apart set pieces because it's really clear what you got to work on. But for me, the truth is that if you can't bring your team forward and pin your opponents in their own defensive half and let the game breathe a little bit and breathe with the ball and feel confident with the ball, then then that's really the problem, because we defended 99.5% of them the right way.
And lastly, the World Cup coming up, what does the break look like for the coaching staff and the players? You give them a lot of homework and they've got assignments, and then you just kind of regroup. What does that look like for, the fans that are curious?
Yeah, no, I think, us coaches will get away for a little bit, and then, before we get away, we'll definitely start planning, as we already have, about the areas of the game that we need to continue to improve upon. The really interesting thing about these breaks, Brant, is that you expect the team to come back and start right where they left off. But the truth is, even during the season, if there's an area of focus that you want to hit on, naturally they're going to improve. But what we're going to do is basically just go through and hit all of our principles in our game model, so that there's refreshers, because there's so much nuance and detail to what we want to do. And so I think the important thing is that we have to touch on all of them, and then again really focus on those areas that have kind of let us down at this part of the season. So the guys are getting, I think, 3 weeks off. And the expectation is that, they have a program to do at home. And so how do you, take a week and relax, and then the next 2 weeks really keep the body moving so that we're not starting from scratch when we get together in June.
All right, there is Pablo Mastroeni. We're going to take a break. When we come back, more on the Stanley Cup playoffs, more on the NBA playoffs. David Locke coming up later this hour, and Austin Ainge will join us at 8:30. Stay with us, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Well, a full weekend of playoffs, a lot going on. I am shocked that Vegas is up 3-0 in Colorado. Colorado had not only the 1 seed in the West, the best record in the NHL in the regular season. And this does happen. Teams get hot, especially goaltenders get hot. And I saw plenty of people say in advance, Vegas has got a puncher's chance. Vegas has playoff experience. This could happen, but not 3-0. I mean, if Vegas wins a long series, okay, but they're going for a sweep tonight at home. This is unreal. It's crazy. Carolina's up 2-1 after getting an overtime goal to beat Montreal 3-2 last night. They're up 2-1 in the East. More predictable there. Montreal had a really good season, but Carolina's the top seed in the East, so that's a little more predictable. Very predictable in the NBA playoffs. Oklahoma City and San Antonio are tied at 2 games apiece. I'm a little disappointed that we didn't get more competitive late-game drama in games 3 or 4. It's pretty clear-cut how both those games were going to go. They weren't total blowouts, but still, I think we all had a pretty good feeling as you were watching the game how it was going to unfold. It looked like the Thunder were going to win Game 3, and they did. It looked like the Spurs blew Game 4 wide open. I mean, that was Wemby hitting that half-court shot at the end. And you got to give him credit. Watching the play live, you could see him. He was 80 feet from the hoop, and he wanted the ball. He had an idea. He shoots that so easy. It's just, he's shooting 30-footers like the free throws, man. It's just unreal. It is crazy. That place erupted. But Game 5 tonight in Oklahoma City, now it gets real. We're getting down to it. The margin for error. It's the best 2 out of 3 series. The margin for error is disappearing quickly. I won't be surprised if we have a Game 7. Won't be surprised at all. We'll see. All right, we'll get to more of that game coming up. And, who's healthy, right? Got to see the injury reports. Both these teams are missing guys. Let that be a lesson to the Jazz, man. You cannot build an 8-player rotation and think that's going to work for you. Too many injuries. You got to be 12, 13 deep. You can have a couple guys at the end of the roster who are, young guys building, and you're not counting on them, but not – 8's not going to get it done. You got to be deeper these days for sure. And then there's East. Wow, the Knicks. First off, Cleveland checked out. That was super disappointing. That was not a good effort in Game 4. Let's be honest. That was not a good effort in Game 3. I think we could run a poll question later this morning. Did Cleveland check out in Game 1, 2, 3, or 4? When they blew that lead in Game 1, it was just over. They never really pushed back after that. It was disappointing. All 3 of those games, Games 2, 3, and 4. So they got to figure that out, answer those questions. We got a question up on our Facebook page, and it's really, is Cleveland, are they figuring out what the Jazz brass has known all along? That's basically it. And, Donovan Mitchell's good. He's second-team All-NBA. You can argue whether he's a top 10 player in the league or not, but you can't argue he's top 20. You just can't. He's a top 20 player in the NBA. You want to argue about whether he's 8 or 13 or 16 or whatever. Okay, argue away. You just yak until you run out of air. But he's just not built for the playoffs. He's too small. Teams can game plan for that. Size matters a lot, and your best player needs to be 6'6" or bigger. I know Steph Curry, and I know Isaiah Thomas, and those 2 are outliers. We got 50, 60, 70 years of basketball that says those guys are outliers, right? I mean, I haven't been watching basketball for 70 years because I'm not 70 years old, but I can look it up. I know about the last 50 years of basketball. I've been around for that. And you go back before that, I mean, it's just, Wilt and Bill Russell were involved in a bunch of championship teams. So I just don't think you can build a championship team around a guy that small. You might catch lightning in a bottle. And I know you're saying the Knicks, maybe Brunson will do it. Maybe he will. I personally don't believe it. We'll see. I think the Knicks will get there, and I think Brunson will do what a lot of smaller guards who are great players have done. John Stockton got beat twice. Jason Kidd got beat when he was the best player. Now, once he was paired with Dirk later in his career, he got one. Peyton, when he was leading the Sonics, didn't get it. He did have Sean Kemp. Later in his career, I think he was in Miami at the end when he got one, but he's a role player at that point. It's just hard. You can list a bunch of smaller guards. Kevin Johnson, really good player. Mark Price, really good player. Steve Nash, 2-time MVP. Maybe Nash could have done it. There was that, the hip check and the guys off the bench and all that. I mean, that was really unfortunate. That could have been their shot. It looked like it could have, would have, should have been their shot, but then the suspensions and it wasn't. So, I don't know. Brunson, it's an uphill battle. And it's an uphill battle for Mitchell. I just not buying it. You just got to have more size. You got to have more size. And then is he a good enough defensive player and all that? So anyway, we can get into all that later this morning. We'll take a break now. We got more basketball coming up. David Locke, a lot of stuff about the Jazz rebuild. We talked with him on Friday. We will get to that next. Austin Ainge at 8:30. Stay with us. DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're going to be talking hoops with Austin Ainge later this morning. What are the Jazz prioritizing? What does Austin Ainge need to add to this team? We will talk with Austin coming up at 8:30 this morning. We talked to David Locke on Friday. We'll replay that conversation. Obviously, at that point, we didn't know the Knicks were going to sweep the Cavs. I think we had an idea the Western Series might be 2-2, and sure enough it is. But it's mostly about the Jazz and how you build championship teams. Here's David Locke with PK and I on The Zone. David, good morning.
David James, Patrick Kinahan. If you're going to talk a draft board, these are two of the guys that you would put at the very top of any draft board, but similar to the way it is in the NBA draft. You would look at their talents and you would not really know how they could utilize everything that they have at their disposal until you see them in the big time. And then they would wow you, putting skills together you never imagined and rising to levels that only you could have dreamed of when you called their name on draft night. That is David James and Patrick Kinahan.
I feel like we lose a minute of good basketball conversation every week because you got to wind up and kick this thing off with whatever you come up with, David.
Yeah, I've got 7 days, 24 hours a day for 7 days to try to come up with the next silly thing I'm going to do.
Right?
It's hard work. If you don't appreciate it, next Friday, I'll just say good morning. That's fine. If you don't appreciate the creativity to try to talk about the greatness of the two of you to whatever is the current trend of the day, no. Next week you get good morning. We'll see how you like it.
Well, you use your draft stuff. I mean, you need draft stuff for a month now. Because you often do that. Your silly thing is usually some topical peg. I was surprised you used the draft stuff so early. I thought you'd save it for June.
I can use the draft stuff for 4 more weeks. That's all anyone cares about.
Yeah, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right, well, let's get to my mega question here. What if the answer to all these, 4 really good players at the top of the draft, the Jazz draft second, what should they do? Trade up, trade down, which player, all the questions. What if the answer to one of these questions is right in front of us? What if there is no backstory to why Peterson was hurt? He was hurt because he was hurt. Period. There's no backstory. He was hurt because he was hurt. And then you look at the way this is going to playoffs, and you're the first one who said, hey, the game has changed, and that's why there's so many injuries. We got these guys running and cutting and changing direction. It's especially hard on big guys like Embiid and Zion because they're just so big, but it's impacting the smaller guys too. And AJ Mitchell went to UC Santa Barbara. I don't know him at all. I know people who know him. But obviously I'm watching him, and I see him grab his groin as he goes to the ground. And this is a young guy. He hasn't made a ton of money yet. He can one day the way he's going. He wants to make his mark. He's in a conference final. He's playing hard. He's having an impact in playoffs. When he grabs his groin, it's because he's hurt. There is no other story. It's because it hurt. And he'd be the 4th guy who's had a significant injury and missed significant time in just the first couple of games here, just getting started in this series. Should people worry about Peterson because of that? Period. End of story. The game is harder physically because all the running and cutting, and he's already been hurt, and this is going to be an even bigger problem.
There's a lot there.
You can handle it.
We lose 2 minutes of good basketball talk when DJ asked his first question.
I've been thinking about it all week. I tried to tighten it up. Sorry.
All right. Let me go with where I thought you were going at first.
Okay.
Like, Peterson just got hurt. He had a cramp issue. It freaked him out. He called it traumatic experience. He's got a little version of PTSD. Yeah. He's got to work through it, but he's a 6'6" guard who could score 25 a night.
Yeah.
And the answer is just right in front of us. If that's the case, then the Jazz get AJ DeBonta. Because Darren Peterson's been the number 1 player in this draft for the entire draft until the cramp thing started.
Right.
And so if the cramp thing is really not a problem and there's not other stuff going on and everyone gets comfortable with that, then the Jazz get AJ DeBonta with the 2nd pick of the draft. Because before Darren Peterson had any of these problems, and before they were, even after he had the problems and they were reoccurring, once they became reoccurring is when AJ DeBonta moved to the top of the draft. And I'm not convinced from the research I've done that AJ DeBonta changed. I just think Darren Peterson changed in people's minds. I don't think AJ DeBonta suddenly became better than what people thought he was. You guys know better than I do, but I'm watching his stuff. And if I watch game 10 and I watch game 20, there's no little less space because no Saunders. But he actually got less good as the year went on, in my opinion. All of them did except for Darius Acuff. It's because you get in the conference play and you're playing teams that have seen you and they're scouted probably. But so that's the first question in there. Is if it's just an injury and they solved it, then if the second question is you're drafting in a manner that's trying to avoid injury, then I think Cameron Boozer vaults to the top.
Yeah.
Because the ground-bound 6'10", 250-pound players are not having the same tendon muscle problems. Sabonis gets hurt, but I think Sabonis was like a wrist or a thumb, right?
Yeah.
Şengün seemingly plays most of the time. Like those type of play. Paolo Banchero has had some of those problems, but most of the, he's had some oblique things. But most of those players that are kind of big and burly are playing right now. Jokic generally plays. He did have the awkward knee thing this year, but like that just happened. So, but I think third thing is the injury issue, not tanking, not any of the 23 other things we talked about all year. The injury issue is the biggest issue in the NBA. And I don't know the answer. And I'm very concerned about it. And I think it's the biggest issue the league has, the same way the NFL has had weeks in which, you are starting 17 second string quarterbacks. And they've made rule changes. I don't know what rule changes we can make, but this is the problem. It's not load management. It's that you have to cover so much ground and we're playing so fast. Did you see how fast the first quarter of that Oklahoma City San Antonio game was? And they were coming off a double overtime 15-round Hagler-Hearns fight.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't believe it. I was watching the first quarter. I was stupefied that they were playing at that breakneck pace. I couldn't believe it. And you had coaches, 10 players played in the first quarter of that game. It's the most players, or 20 players played in the first quarter of the game. It's the most players played in the first quarter of a playoff game in like 10 years.
You like Boozer because he can initiate the pick and roll. Is that not a fact?
That is the most intriguing thing to me about him right now. I started a project where I'm watching the final 5 minutes of all these players' close games because I actually think the coaches tell you what they think they can do and can't do. And John Schreier went to Carlos Boozer at the top with the ball in his hands in a pick and roll a lot. And so it seems weird. Like, okay, well, the 6'9", 250-pound guy can't be the pick and roll guy. Okay, but the 6'8", 235 guy, 250 guy in LA can do it, and the 6'8", 230-pound guy in Detroit can do it. So why can't the 6'10", 250 guy in Utah do it?
He can. Will they draft him?
Well, I mean, if Cameron Boozer, boy, that's going to be hard.
Just go with
If
Boozer.
Cameron Boozer can initiate the pick and roll, I think he might be really offensively special. Like,
And you think he can?
he's the best. Again, another research project, and this one won't take long. I just haven't done it. But I think if you look back through Sabonis' career, who's a really good pick and roll handoff big, I think Sacramento's offense has always been close to top 10. If you look back at Karl Anthony Towns, kind of a big that can spread it, can really shoot it, I think his offense has always been top 10. Now, I'm not sure Boozer's your center, but I do think if you have a big that can spread the floor 5 out and be the fulcrum of your offense, I think you have a top 10 offense automatically, maybe even a top 5 offense, and none of them can play pick and roll. This would be the first one who can do it in that manner. That gets pretty fascinating to me.
You jumped my next question. If Boozer's with a center who goes away from the rim, I just don't know that people can stop Boozer one-on-one. And I know he doesn't jump as well as most guys in the NBA, and I don't think it matters. I don't know that he reads everybody's feet and shoulders and the ball fakes and go left and right and a head fake. I just don't know that people can guard him one-on-one if he has space. They're going to need a second person.
Right. I mean, you run a pick and roll, you invert the pick and roll, so that Keontae or Ace, the 1 or 2, comes and sets the pick, and Boozer's coming off the pick, and now they're switching 1 through 4, so now you have a point guard or 2 on Boozer, and you're able to be and you're spread so that there's no help coming. Yeah. He killed that guy. It's what he did all college.
Right. Yeah.
He killed that guy. Now AJ might kill that guy too, frankly.
Yeah, but that's not as surprising. I mean, AJ, as soon as you see him, you think that. But Boozer, don't underestimate him because he'll kill that guy too. He'll take him apart.
Yeah, and I think about the one I think gets interesting in Will Hardy's offense is, so you start to run the off-ball screen for Ace Bailey or even Keontae George. Somebody else has to be handling up top. We don't have a second ball handler, so this would be a little difficult to be doing for Keontae. But, and Boozer goes and sets the pick, and they switch. Well, then Boozer just rolls that guy into the middle of the lane immediately. Like, you're just kind of playing a small pick and roll where he's now rolling a small into the lane, and then he can really score. So, I don't think he's going to have a hard time scoring. I do have a hard – I'm not going to lie. I watch him defensively, and it's like, oh, God. He's not that quick laterally. He's not getting off the ground. And, frankly, nor is Cade Cunningham or Luka Doncic, right? No. My podcast today is, comp Cade Cunningham and Cameron Boozer. It gets really interesting. It seems weird. It seems counterintuitive. But, who averaged more assists in college? Boozer. And, they're not the same, but they're not Cade Cunningham's 6'8", 225, 230. So one guy, and so, and I also wonder if Cameron might lose a little weight when he starts playing in the NBA. That's the other thought. I think he might go down. So I'm very intrigued by Cameron Boozer. Very intrigued.
Yeah, I can see why. I think he's been a very good player for a long time. Seen him play many times because a lot of his games in high school were on television, and obviously Duke is always on television. I think that the draft is just one addition that the Jazz will make, and they probably will have some more. How much do you think whoever they draft will lead to some personnel decisions that if they drafted DeBonsa, they would go this way. If they drafted Peterson, they'd go that way, and put Boozer in the mix too, as far as what they do to augment the roster?
So honestly, if you draft DeBonsa or Peterson, I think it has very little impact on your core other 5 players. If you draft Cameron Boozer, you have to be comfortable with Lowry Markkanen playing all of his minutes as a 3. And I think that might be fine. But you're now playing Boozer 30 minutes a night, Kessler 30 minutes a night, and Jaren Jackson 34 minutes a night. And that is your center power forward rotation, those 3 guys.
Yeah.
So there's no time for Lowry to slide down. So now Lowry's playing 34 minutes a night as your power forward, and Ace Bailey's probably playing the other 14 there. So now Ace Bailey's playing 24 minutes as your shooting guard. You need another shooting guard for 24 minutes, and you need another backup point guard, and you really need another ball handler badly. So your backup center, I don't think at that point you're paying Yusuf Nurkic. Your backup, your wing, your front, your 3-4-5 rotation is, you just need depth there, and that frankly is probably Kyle Filipowski is your extra big in some of that circumstances, at least for another year or 2, and he's priced well. And then you've got to figure out who your backup 3 is, just to cover, because you need one, but they probably aren't in the rotation. And then you need 1 or 2 guards in your added to your lineup of rotation players. If you're drafting Cameron Boozer. If you're drafting Darren Peterson, then you still need that guard. But Ace Bailey is now playing 24 minutes a night as your small forward, and probably 14 minutes, 12 minutes a night as a shooting guard. And Lowry's playing 24 minutes a night as a 3, and probably 14 to 16 minutes a night as a 4. And Jaren Jackson's playing the other ones, and then you're backing up with Kessler and maybe a backup center, or you're rolling Jaren over there for a few minutes a night.
I'm very excited. Assuming the Jazz sign Kessler, I'm very excited to see what this looks like. We've never seen a Jazz team that has this kind of size and will most nights be much bigger than the opposition. We have seen skilled teams that are smaller achieve pretty well, both in the Boozer D. Will era and back in the Stockton Malone era, but they usually were giving up some size at key positions. This could be an enormous team, and I'm super intrigued. However, the one thing I have out there is, where we started this with the amount of injuries in the NBA. Kessler, Jackson, and Markkanen together played 21 years in the NBA, and together they've only been able to play 70 games in a season 3 times. Now, I know those numbers are impacted by tanking. I think you add them all up, 9 of the seasons have been impacted by tanking, and 4 more have been impacted by the shortened COVID season. So this isn't a shot at their durability in the past, but nonetheless, I have very little that suggests that their bodies can endure 70 or 75 or 80 games, because you want them to be healthy when you get to the playoffs, because they could be top 6. Maybe they could win a playoff series in 2 rounds. And are they really going to be healthy that whole time? Because there's such a load being put on these guys, and we haven't seen them do it. And I get why we haven't seen them do it, but nonetheless, we haven't seen them do it. So I'm curious if that is something the Jazz fans should raise an eyebrow and worry about, or whether you just dismiss that with a wave of a hand.
No, I think it's real. You used to say that the average player in the NBA is going to miss 11 games. I think you probably need to start moving that to 15. And now start building your roster, assuming you're going to be missing. So this is where I actually think Isaiah Collier, Bryce sense about Cody's a little expensive, and Kyle Filipowski become very important to the Jazz. And their minute. I'm not sure I think that any of them are rotation players to start the year next year. But I'm not sure that matters, because all these guys are going to be out. Like, if Flip is our 4th or 5th big, right? Let's say we draft Peterson or Devonta, and Nurk comes back, and so you're Nurk and Kessler and Jaren and Lowry's your backup 4, and Lowry's your starting 3. Okay, they're going to all miss a bunch of games. Flip's going to play 50 games a year in the rotation.
Yeah.
Like, if they all miss, then Flip is the guy who steps in for, and that's where Flip's time last year really matters. If your guard line is Keontae, let's go with Darren, Lowry, Ace, whatever veteran guard you add to bring stability and ball handling, and Sensabaugh's kind of not in the rotation, well, anytime Ace or Lowry or the veteran misses some time, Bryce is coming in, and maybe Cody's coming in, and Isaiah Collier's probably your 3rd point guard, and when whoever he's coming in, and those guys are going to be able to have to work their way back into the rotation, I would guess, to prove that they've made the strides they've had to. It's a very different world for them, but where all the minutes they've been given in the last 2 years are very important.
David, we'll leave it right there for now. You're the man. Thanks for coming on. Enjoy.
Tip of the hat, by the way. I know a bunch of those guys are working really hard. Like, the Jazz offseason program is than what Keontae did last year has leaked over, and these guys, the words I'm getting are these guys are working. Those guys they just all put out of the rotation are all working really hard to be in the rotation right now and deserve credit for that.
Thank you, David. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, bye.
There's David Locke. Remember, Austin Ainge is coming up. He'll join us live at 8:30 this morning. We'll take a break and be back. What is trending? The headlines are next.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update. This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NBA.
I mean, it means a lot, but I wouldn't be here without my teammates. The belief they had in me, this coaching staff, this organization, this fan base. Without them, none of this is possible.
I can't even answer that question, honestly. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's 4-0, but I don't think we had a chance as far as our best shot, from a standpoint of the circumstances. Obviously they dominated us 4-0, but I don't know if I can necessarily answer that question. Just because genuinely I do feel like we are the better team, but series-wise, it didn't show it. So tough question to answer.
That's James Harden after the Cavs get blown out by the Knicks, swept by the Knicks. You also heard Jalen Brunson, the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Another blowout victory for the Knicks, a no-show for the Cavs in Game 4. Thought we could talk about a no-show in Game 3, but Game 4 topped that, and it's over in a sweep. 11 straight playoff wins for the Knicks.
Way to go.
Way to go.
Yeah.
You more impressed by the Knicks or more horrified by the Cavs?
Well, I think the Cavs topped out. Outside of Mitchell, they've just got a bunch of role players. And their role players weren't near good enough. Mitchell was fine. Usually is. And that's what you end up. I mean, Harden's 36 years old. He's a role player now.
Karl Anthony Towns leading away for New York, 19-14. They dominated every quarter of that game. And now they'll sit and wait while San Antonio and Oklahoma City slug it out. Game 5 tonight on NBC. It is 2-2. Neither of those games were particularly dramatic. Game 4 wasn't really even competitive at all. The Spurs blew that thing open in the second half. After Wemby hit that half-court shot, it was all San Antonio.
Yeah, I think it was before he hit that half-court shot. It looked like you're dominating the whole game.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
Sunday is the day of football, right? Outside of going to church in the morning, if you're still religious and you do that, Sunday is like where so many games happen. And that's what you grow up in. You gear your entire week around watching football on Sunday.
Yeah.
It's an institution at this point, the NFL playing games on Sunday. With every day that we keep adding in there, we're getting away from that just a little bit. Sunday is the NFL, and everybody set their week apart to tune into their games that were happening on Sunday, and you're watching kind of all of them now take place across Sunday Ticket, right? I worry that we're getting away from that just a little bit by building too many of this.
That's Jason Kelsey. I wanted the NFL to stay Sunday focused. A lot of Thursday and some Wednesday and Friday games out there as well.
Well, one Wednesday. I think that's fine, though. It hasn't changed Sunday. There's still plenty of games. Right? The majority of the games, the overwhelming majority of the games are Sunday.
They are. There's, depending on the week, I guess 3 or 4 maybe that aren't, but 16 games, even with buys, there's 14 games. And they are still mostly Sunday.
I mean, I realize he has to come up with something to stay relevant. And this doesn't really do it for me.
Giants quarterback Jackson Dart introducing President Donald Trump at a rally. His teammates have quickly downplayed any talk of a rift. Abdul Carter had tweeted, "Thought this bleep was AI. What we doing, man?" But then followed it up with, "Me and JD6 are good. We spoke earlier as men. Y'all can keep y'all's narratives." Y'all. Y-A-L-L.
Floor's yours, big guy. Make a video for you this time.
Ba-bam!
What do you got?
53 guys are going to have different political views. So if you want to go public, go public. Don't be surprised somebody in your locker room's got different politics than you. I mean, in this case, it's Dart for the current president, but in the next case, it'll be somebody else. I am interested in, what was the conversation, me and JD6 are good? Because you went from what we doing, man, that's nobody else's narrative. It's your narrative. And now we're good. Y'all can keep y'all's narratives. Well, you were the one who had the narrative. What changed? It apparently really bugged you. Now it doesn't apparently bug you at all. But he hasn't shared that for us or with us. State of Florida signed the Teddy Bridgewater Act over the weekend, meaning high school coaches in the state will now be able to use their own money to help their players with expenses such as food, transportation, physical therapy, and rehab services. Comes after Bridgewater was suspended last year after using his own money to help his players at Miami's Northwestern High School in 2024. This is literally a bag getting moved back at first base because they put a limit on $15,000 on how much can be spent. It used to be $0, now it's $15,000, and he was spending over $15,000, so the bag has been moved back. Can spend some, but not so much. Don't know who's going to track that.
Most high school teachers didn't play in the NFL, high school coaches, so they're not going to have that money, though.
They don't have the money. They can't afford to do what he did.
No, they would probably want to do it if they could, but they don't have the cash.
It is a common story here in Utah. Teachers spending money on their students, buying food for students. You can hear that, not necessarily linked to athletics. I'm sure in some cases it is, but you hear it at the elementary and junior high level too. DJ and PK.
#college football.
The year before, there was a little bit of chatter, but you're in the playoffs, and that's your only focus. You know, this year got really loud after the end of the regular season, and you know, usually I've never been in this position where we're not playing in a bowl game or playing in playoffs, and so I took a minute to really say, what is this opportunity of being an NFL head coach? I never coached the NFL. I wanted to know what they look for, what they think it takes to be successful. And I gained some valuable knowledge. I was always honest with our players. If they asked and they talked to them, I said, listen, guys, like, I'm the head coach at Notre Dame.
Notre Dame coach Marcus Freeman on thinking about an NFL jump. I love the start of that when he says, well, when you're in the playoffs, that's your only focus. I'm like, well, maybe for some coaches, I could probably come up with one coach who jumped before a playoff from Ole Miss to LSU. But I guess that was his thought process anyway. He has been rumored and linked to NFL jobs, but so far he's staying put at Notre Dame.
True.
SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey said he did not anticipate any decisions on the college football playoff at the SEC spring meetings, noting there's still time ahead of the December 1 deadline for the expansion of the college football playoff. Sankey's been adamant about a 16-team playoff. The Big Ten wants 24. They've gotten the ACC and Big 12 to come out in favor of 24. Not anticipating any decisions.
I could tell you, man, I'm already tired with it.
You
I
are.
don't want to read this thing every day.
Play 16, play 24, just get on with it.
Play 12. Play
Yeah.
0. Doesn't really matter anymore.
But we were watching college football when there were 0 playoff games. Can't believe they're going back to that, but I get your point. The NCAA's Division I cabinet discussed potential implementation of age-based eligibility. Signal would consider voting on it at the meeting next month. The proposal is a 5-for-5 eligibility model, which gives every athlete 5 seasons of eligibility, no red shirts. We had you couldn't play a game. Now we got you can play 4 games, or you can play 4 regular season games, but conference title games and bowl games don't count. Now they're getting ready to just open it up and make it 5-for-5. DJ PK.
#Major League Baseball.
Cowser drives it right center field. That ball is back, and that ball is gone. What a weekend for Colton Cowser, a 2-time holiday hero.
Santa the 1-2 to Nimmo. Strike 3 call on the outside corner, and the Astros have thrown a no-hitter. But first a challenge. The call is going to stand, and the Astros are going to complete the 18th no-hitter in Astros history. Vasquez and Santa hopping up and down in front of the mound, and the rest of his teammates join in.
Houston Astros get their first no-hitter in a couple of years. 3 pitchers combining to get the no-no. Does that do it for you, the combined no-hitter? Find that as exciting as one guy out there grinding for 9 innings?
I find it more exciting.
Do you?
Come on, you know the answer to that question. I mean, the kid at the end, Santa, that was his debut, so that was kind of fun.
Cubs, who've had 10-game winning streaks on 2 different occasions this year, now have a 9-game losing streak to go with it. A 2-1 loss to the Pirates. Any explanation for this bizarreness with the Cubs?
They suck.
Well, they don't suck when they have 10-game win streaks.
Well, they're not having a 10-game win streak.
That's true. You got me there.
It's baseball, man. There's so many ups and downs during the course of the season.
The only other team to have multiple 10-game win streaks and a 9-game losing streak is the 2017 Los Angeles Dodgers. So, there you go. Dodgers with a sweep this weekend. 2.5-game lead, taking control of the division as they pile up some wins to beat the Brewers a couple times and beat the Rockies. So,
amazing.
Amazing? The amazing Dodgers?
No, that Mizorowski for the Brewers, man. Threw 57 pitches over 100 miles an hour yesterday against the Cardinals. Man, 5-2, 1.83 ERA. Was watching a lot of that game. 12 Ks. 24 years old, I think he is. Wow.
There's some very low ERAs out there for guys. I mean, Shohei's is minuscule. His is minuscule. Miller out of the bullpen with a tiny ERA. There's some guys really dominating out there.
His teammate, Harrison, I think his name is, that came over from the Cubs, left-handed. He's really good. And how about the friggin' Marlins? Not Marlins. I always say that, confuse the teams. Not Marlins, Rays. Their pitching is unbelievable. What do you think of that? They got Gutierrez at the top, Martinez, Halverson, and then Anderson as a rotation. Do you like that one?
Don't follow the Rays. Don't know what to tell you about the Rays.
You should. They're in first place.
They are in first place, yes. Leading the AL East.
34-17. I mean, that is, and you're a records guy.
An unsustainable pace. It is so awesome. It's hard to believe they could sustain that. It'd be like 108 or 110 wins or something like that.
Yeah, I was hoping you commented on that because I just made up that rotation.
There you go. Good.
I had to pause a little bit. Come up. So I threw a couple of
some random names.
Well, Dominican guys, or Latin guys, maybe not necessarily. Venezuela has a ton of them these days. They're not all from the Dominican, a lot of them, but Venezuela has been really kicking butt and turning out.
Producing a lot of players.
Yeah. You kind of get the impression that if you went to the Dominican and you went to Venezuela, you'd go by schoolyards or just open fields, whatever, and there'd be baseball games. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. It's impressive.
Martinez, Rasmussen, and McClanahan. Those would be your top three for the A's. Now I'll pay attention to them. Now that they're real people.
Rays, not
for the Rays, yes. Marlins, Rays, A's were all over the place. Bees picking up another win. They got a little streak going. They won 4 in a row. They are back to 500 for the first time. Like full calendar, I guess. The Bees open a series in Round Rock against the Express. First pitch set for 5. They're playing on it's Tuesday because Monday was a holiday, right? Yeah, there you go. First pitch set for 5:45. Tony Parks on the call, 5:30 on 1280 The Zone. DJ and PK.
#NHL.
Svechnikov will hang on to the puck. Sand across. Jarvis has to settle it. He'll get it right back. A chance. They score! They score! Andrei Svechnikov wins it in overtime! And the Hurricanes have silenced the Bell Center.
Carolina in OT 3-2. They lead the Eastern Conference Finals 2-1. Meanwhile, in the West, the top seed, Colorado, down 3-0 in Las Vegas, in danger of getting swept. The team that took out Utah in 6 games is trying to close out Colorado in 4 and go back to the Stanley Cup final. ESPN tonight, 7 o'clock, as the Golden Knights go for the sweep. DJ PK coming up. Austin Ainge, Jazz president of basketball operations, is going to join us at 8:30. Brian Howell, Colorado Buffaloes writer for Buff Zone and the Boulder Daily Camera, will join us at 9 o'clock for our spring football tour. The question of the day is coming up next. What is trending is brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Question of the day, all about Donovan Mitchell and the Cavs. That's next. Stay with us.
They've been doing it for a while.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
He covers the NHL for Sportsnet. He is Luke Fox.
Now Austin Matthews is obviously very much in the news, and you've seen the Mammoth's name tied pretty closely to Matthews if he were to hit the trademark.
Utah's interest in Austin Matthews is 100% accurate. They would have to join a few other teams that would probably be raising their hand. If he does say, hey, I want out, for sure the Mammoth would be all over that. The Sharks would be over that. The Kings. There would be a number of teams that would want a player like him because they just don't become available very often, especially when they're in their prime. A couple years back, he scored 69 goals, threatened 70, which hasn't been done since the 90s. So a player like that may or may not become available, absolutely, the Mammoth are all over that. They want a superstar.
Catch Jake and Ben afternoons from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
I'm sorry for the city of Cleveland for it to be like this in a sweep. Like, that's ass. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I told y'all last year, and I'd say again, we'll be back. We'll be ready. We'll be hungry. We'll be locked in.
That's Donovan Mitchell after Cleveland gets swept out of the conference finals by the New York Knicks. Question of the morning of the Cavs finding out what the current Jazz brass has long since known. Todd says the Knicks knew they passed on Mitchell and signed Brunson. And Ben says playoff Donovan is real. I really enjoy watching it now that it doesn't affect the Jazz.
They didn't have to give up anything for Brunson. He was a free agent.
Gave him the money and brought him aboard.
They would have had to give up stuff for Mitchell, and he thought it was going to happen. Is Brunson better than Mitchell?
I guess I have to say yes, given him just advancing in the playoffs, but I can see why that question can be posed. You know, they're both smaller guys. They're both really good offensively. They're both going to have problems defensively. The Knicks have done everything to put a team around Brunson that tries to minimize, his negatives. They got to have a lot of size around him, plenty of help defense.
I thought you were yelling about how great the size was for Cleveland.
Yeah, and it doesn't, but to your point about role players, it doesn't produce. And I see flashes of it, and I did think as I was watching it, am I just completely delusional? And I can't remember who it was, but it was, it might have been Barkley and Shaq talking about it. Probably was. It was probably halftime of the game. It's like they've got the size. They could do it, and in little stretches you see it, but in long stretches it doesn't happen.
Well, you just can't be tall. You got to be good.
Right.
I always thought you overestimated Mobley and Allen.
Yeah.
They're okay. That's it.
And it's not just this playoff run that suggests that, but previous ones as well.
And so
they're
Cleveland
not going
can come back next year all they want.
But it's not going to end up in the NBA Finals next year.
I wouldn't think so.
I would probably pick against it ending up in the conference finals. Boston was trying to put it together on the fly, getting their guy back, and that rarely works. I guess Cleveland, if you want to be positive about the Cavs, which I would think there's a short line of people who want to do that this morning. But if you did, it's like, well, they made a big move midseason too, and it's hard to make those work deep in the playoffs.
They got a role player.
I know.
We got to get past James Harden 6, 7, 8 years ago.
I agree. Well, and even 6, 7, 8 years ago.
He's better than he was today.
Better than he was today, but still there were no-shows in big playoff games and no trips to the finals. I mean, it was one, but he was the third guy at that point. Early in Oklahoma City. Early in his career.
Yeah, they can all come back, and they're an okay team.
Tavita says the Jazz fans still think that was a championship team. Laughing, crying emoji.
What is that?
With Rudy and Donovan.
Oh. I think that it is or was just as much of a title contender as the Cleveland Cavaliers are as presently constituted. And maybe they make some moves in the offseason, but I don't see where there is much difference in the team. And you got that one common denominator, so it sort of makes sense that they would be right where they are just in the East. And you can argue, well, they're where they are in the East because it's easier to get to where they went in the East than it is in the West. And if they would have put Cleveland in the West, then they're out in the second round. It's all argument and sports
but
argument.
They would have been out.
Can't be proven.
Yeah. They would have been out in the first or second round. Yeah.
And so that they advanced. They got Detroit, which is 2 years away from winning 14 games and coming into its own, and they went to 7 games and had the stinker. But Detroit stands to reason will get better just simply because they're more on the come than Cleveland is. It seems that Cleveland has plateaued now. He's been there, 4 years?
Yep.
Same thing with Minnesota, for that matter. I mean, both these guys have plateaued. Minnesota had a little bit of a higher plateau, but I don't think that they're going to be any better next year than each team.
You look at what's happening in Oklahoma City and San Antonio, and it's hard to see Minnesota's path forward. They're just going to keep running into those guys.
Yeah, I wasn't even looking about who they would run into. It was just that it seems like they've reached their peak, which often happens. I mean, in fact, it always happens.
You reach your peak, but is it enough to get Denver a championship? In the case of Denver, yes. In the case of Minnesota, no.
Right.
Milwaukee peaked 1 year. Couldn't get back anywhere near that mountaintop. But they did get that championship.
Yes, they did.
Patrick says Harden is not the right fit for Donovan Mitchell. Both are known for their lack of defense. And I got a lot of thumbs up.
I can't crack on a role player, a 36-year-old role player, and act like it's all in his lap as to reason why they lose. I mean,
so if you set that level of, set the MVPs aside because he's not doing that anymore. He's, like you said, it's just your mid-30s moving towards your late 30s. It's not going to happen. But could they have gone out and spent that roster spot and that money and gone out and gotten players who are better defenders, or even if they're role players, complement Donovan's game better? I don't think New York's, it's not like they're sitting on a bunch of stars there, but the role players complement Brunson's game better.
Well, I think that Karl Anthony Towns has made plenty of all-star teams. So he's better than what Cleveland has. And the OG guy is better than anybody Cleveland has. So if you want to put Brunson number one, their second and third players are substantially better, I think, than Cleveland's second and third players.
Certainly played that way over the last 4 games.
Yeah. They did get to the conference final last year, right?
The Knicks did, yes.
Yeah. So their track record, I don't think is debatable.
Jim says, what do they know? That Donovan is not the number one player to lead a team to a championship? For sure. He'd be a great third option. He's not getting paid like a third option.
No.
So the question is, could he be a great second option?
Well, then that's why you crack on Mobley, because you can look it up. They're literally making the exact same
amount, yeah.
Yeah.
But Mobley's not impacting and changing games. Yeah.
No, he's not doing much.
No.
So Mitchell's a fine player. But if he's going to be your best player, you're going to plateau. And it's going to be a disappointing plateau.
Patrick says, well, the Jazz made the right move.
The Jazz made the right move. Yeah, that's an interesting concept. They made the right move to do what? You just said to Locke that, if these guys, you brought up your stats, they played 30 years in the league or 20 years in the league, and they've only played 70 games 6 times with your guys. And then you said, and you want them to be healthy in the playoffs because they could win a playoff or two.
Mm-hmm.
Well, isn't that exactly what they just gave up?
That is exactly what they just gave up.
The Jazz learned something to get right back where they are? See, I disagree with you, but that's what you said.
Yeah. I think that's where they're set to get back to. I would be surprised if what looks like the roster next year went to the conference finals or the NBA finals. That would surprise me.
Yeah, if you just judge it on the 26-27 season, but the world doesn't end in the spring and early summer of 27. I have to see what they do in 27, 28, and so forth.
Yeah. I expect, given the money, that there's going to be more major changes to the roster.
Then are they not just running in place then?
That is possible. If the next change somehow turns out to be a great upgrade, then it all pays off. But is there a chance that they run in place? Yeah, I think there is. And I think that is a point we're probably going to end up talking about forever until it becomes super, clear and you can't debate it anymore. But did they just swap out a team that can win 50 games and go out in the first or second round for a team that can do the same thing? Because what's the point of tanking for 4 years if you're building another team that's going to win 50 games or go out in the first or second round?
Yes.
Now, it may be that that's all this group can do, but there are groups within the group, and the best case for Jazz fans is Ace Bailey's trajectory is just going to keep going up and up, and whoever they draft here, the trajectory is going to go up and up, and those two guys are going to lead this team to the promised land, conference finals, NBA finals.
Well,
have
clearly
a parade.
their trajectory will go up and up.
So,
but they'll plateau at some point too.
Right, but do they plateau with a championship? Do they do what Denver and Milwaukee did?
Well, the odds are against every team.
I get it. But if those guys pay off with the championship, then even though in the short run what they're going to do is just what they did 4, 5, 6 years ago, it's more about the long run, and they couldn't have gotten these guys without acquiring these picks and blah,
Most
blah,
likely.
blah, and tanking.
Most likely not. Yeah, I agree. But that long run is now we're another 4 or 5 years away from that.
Yeah, I get it. You're right. I would assume so. I mean, I guess they could blow up and do something at a younger age, but that's not the history of the NBA.
3 or 4 years.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
That's conservative.
No, it's 5, 6, 7 years out. Yeah, that could be what it is. That could be how long it takes. If they hit on this pick and if Bailey is, best case scenario, you're still waiting for those guys to turn 25, 26, 27 years old.
And that sounds like a long time away, but I think along the way, if that's going to play, say for case of argument, say 5 years. So, 30, 31, they're in the conference final. Well, they're not most likely just going to stumble, and then turn it on.
No.
It's going to be an ascension, so we're going to be able to see it and anticipate it using Oklahoma City as the most recent model. And so there are good times along the way there. And that's something to look forward to. And they can build around that. I mean, the job is never ending. You're constantly building, rebuilding, whatever. Hopefully building, not rebuilding, because building obviously means, you've got something in place and you're trying to add upon that. So if they get to that point, then clearly it was worth it, because at that point, which is 3 to 5 years down the road, you will see what you need and what you can do. They and DA saw what he had to work with, knowing that one guy, because he was caught up in the world here and it got to him, and it was draining to be here, using his word, he was going to leave. Now, none of us have any idea how Ace Bailey / the number 2 pick of the 26th draft will feel about being here 5 years from now, right? I mean, like everybody else, I've used this example a million times. Dennis Rodman, when he was trying to make his mark in the NBA, was not wearing a wedding dress.
That came later.
Mitchell wasn't a social justice pioneer, and we're all backwards here, until he established himself.
That was not what we heard his rookie year.
Right. And so once you get some leverage and some cachet, then you use it if you choose to. And that's what he did. Once he became a star, well, then he started, it's draining to be here.
Yeah.
Because I'm on social media a lot, and I got pulled over by a policeman, according to him, and the policeman was rude, and then some state senator. And so who knows? And so factor all that in, and DA said, no, we got to go in another direction.
The speculation about Mitchell leaving, the speculation about Hayward leaving, if you want to go way back, the speculation about Darren Williams leaving, none of that started the rookie year. That's all something that comes down the line. Right. There's success, there's leverage, there's a market for your skills, because you're obviously a talented player, and all 3 of those guys were obviously talented players. And then the rumors start poking their head up, and we all hear stuff.
Yeah.
And then the club has to decide what to do. And they've decided different things. A couple times they decided to trade. One time they decided to try to ride it out and make it work. And it didn't.
But I think that the potential of this team is conference final.
Next season?
No.
Oh, in 5 years?
No.
Okay, when?
2 or 3. Well, if it's not next year, and if it's not 5, well, then I only got 3 choices. That's my landing point.
You could have said 7. I don't know.
No.
Okay. So 2 to 3 years.
In 7 years, this group is going to be really. This group isn't going to exist in 7 years.
This group, maybe you think this group can't do it, but these 2 guys, as foundational pieces, could do it. But you're still waiting for them to get to be 25 years old.
They'll get to be 25 when they get to be 25.
Yeah.
And I think the potential of this team is higher than maybe get into the playoffs and maybe win a first-round game, a first-round series. I'm right there with Hatback. I'm bullish.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Make it happen. Wave the magic wand.
Yeah. I mean, I can see this team in my mind.
Through my eyes.
I'm more of my mind.
Okay.
Because that's where it is. You can't see it. You can imagine it. So I got to go mind. Is third place in the West next year.
That'd be best case scenario. You're passing a lot of good teams to get there. And there'll be a lot of excitement if they pull that off.
I don't know that I'm passing any team that isn't passable.
Agreed. But they'd still be good teams. I mean, Denver's a good team.
Denver's on
LA's
the
a
way
good team.
down. Lakers are on the way down.
Yeah. Well, let's see what the Lakers do this summer.
They're on the way down. You can do whatever they want to do. They're on the way down. So
the West is wide open between the big two, behind the big two.
Well, there's no way I'm going to put them above those two right now. And let's see what they got out there. Let's see when Big Vic tries to go to the hoop and there's 2 7-footers right there who can play.
Yeah.
Let's see. And let's see what all these guys can do defending Ace Bailey, who the Spurs are 7-4. It's like a diving competition. 7-4, 6-5, 6-5, 6-6, 6-5, 6-5. They're all the same.
They largely are, yes.
Yeah. So I am definitely bullish on this group. I don't think that they are tapping out without even being a threat to get to the NBA final. Because if you don't get to the conference final, then you're not a threat to get to the NBA final. I think we would agree on that, right?
There would be a very short list of teams in this league that have checked out in the second round who I thought were legit threats. And there's surprises once in a while. I think when Duncan and Shaq were ruling the world, I think one of them coasted through the regular season.
That's Duncan and Bob Marley to you.
He has undergone a transformation.
Or Shaq and Bob Marley.
Yeah, they met in the second round once when they were both legit, but those are very rare examples. You're right. Most of these teams go out in the second round. They're nice teams, but they're not really among the
I'm
elite.
surprised you're that low on the expectation on the Jazz.
Well, it's partly the Jazz, and it's partly I'm holding the Spurs and Thunder up as excellent teams that I expect to be back in conference finals. That's a lot of improvement to get as good as those teams are. And maybe they'll pull it off. I mean, the Spurs have gotten much better very quickly. So maybe the Jazz could pull that off. But
yeah, because they have a
think
remarkable player.
Wembayama is something else.
Right.
Yeah.
And
nobody matches up with him.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Let's see when you put 2 7-footers on him.
Will he start hitting half-court shots again?
Yeah, and he hasn't played Smart Alec.
Another nickname?
Smart Alec Walker Kessler. He's got the brains.
Okay.
His uncle played in the NBA. Was named Alec. And so then he's going to have some help, too. That's what's going to be intriguing.
It will be, yes, intriguing to see how all these pieces fit together.
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't had defensive help. Now, he's barely getting started here, and it was curtailed, obviously, this season. So this coming season, he'll have the opportunity, if they resign him and he's healthy, hopefully, knock on wood, all that stuff, to show what he can do in a system that isn't simply going to be him. They draft a Bonsa. Usually they tell these guys, it's a cliche, but it's true. For right now, they draft any of these guys. Peterson. Defend. Right? Don't worry about offense.
Right.
We got plenty of guys for offense. And so let's just go either of those two, whoever it is. Those guys got the skills that if that's what they want to do, hey, that's how I want to get out on the floor, I better do that. And they take that to heart, especially early, along with Ace there and the other two guys. Man, they've got something there. They can do the things that Will Hardy preaches. They have the possibility. The potential would be there. And if that's there, and these rooks, see, that's where I disagree with Locke. If they can grasp the defensive assignment and just relish the role, they've got the skills, either of those guys. Bonds are probably a little bit more, a little taller. But Peterson, he's He probably has just as much athletic skill. He's just not as tall.
He's not as big. But athletically, he looks like he's got whatever he needs.
So you put them in a simpler role. It's like the same thing of what we're expecting for Bear Bachmeier in his sophomore season versus his freshman season. They tailored a game plan for him to succeed. Well, that game plan in year 2 is going to be broader and wider than it was in year 1, right?
Yep.
And so for these guys, their game plan could be really narrow and buy into it, and that could be really cool for this team. I am super excited to see what the potential is, and then whatever the potential is when we get to this time next year, the potential the following year will increase. And suppose they go to a 7-game series and they'll have to play either of those two teams.
Thunder or Spurs.
And they lose. That would be awesome.
Well, that's back to the earlier point about there'll be high points along the way. That's 3 high points.
Oh, for sure.
Because that means there's a regular season with a lot of winning, and there's a lot of anticipation.
Which would be
and
fun in and of itself.
Coming together in the morning, all sorts of fired up over whatever happened the night before.
Exactly.
Then the second tier is they win a playoff series, which even now, we're coming up on a decade.
Yeah.
But we remember when the Jazz beat the Clippers, everything seemed possible. Now, we didn't know Hayward was going to play 2 more weeks and leave. We knew that second round series was going to be really hard because he got the Warriors.
Mm-hmm. That's an all-time team.
And the Warriors were an all-time team at the peak of their powers. That was just impossible. It was a measuring stick, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was just super exciting when they beat the Clippers. And then the next year, it was super exciting when Mitchell stepped in, and all the things you say about the role were true with him. He exceeded him. His role grew very quickly. Even when he failed, his teammates were so patient with him, and then you ask him why. It's because we saw him in September. He's really good.
Well, they remember the 21st practice of September. Yeah, they remember it. Yeah.
So they beat Oklahoma City, and, that was super exciting. And
except I think this would be different because in order to beat the Clippers, you needed Joe Johnson. And clear Joe Johnson was at the end. Whoever helps them win
is not at the end now.
Not
even their veterans are in the middle.
Right. Unless Kevin Love.
Kevin Love throws in a 40-footer.
Or actually they cleared out and let Joe Johnson do his thing.
Yeah.
And it worked. Kevin Love wouldn't be in that position. Joe Johnson was. But the point is, they'd still be a younger group. Every game they win from here on out will be a potential game because it's about the younger guys. Even Jaren Jackson is still only 26, turning 27. And Markkanen hadn't played in a big game in the NBA.
Yeah.
And so to see him flourish when it really, really counts, which I believe he will, that'll be something exciting. And he still has 3 to 4 to 5 years left of high-quality ball. Whether he stays, salary cap, blah, 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 remains to be seen. But he still has that ability to whatever level he's at, I believe he has. I believe he can get better. And when he does get better, that level where he's better, he will still have at least 3 years of being able to sustain that.
I just think it's going to come to get where they want to go. I think it's come down to what you always say when everyone's talking about you got to get your Wembayama, right? You got to get your joker, and that's your guy, and then you go from there. Well, if you can't get one of those guys, your point has always been get better, and then try to get better again, and then try to get better again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't see right now that they have their Victor Wembayama or
that number 2
their
pick
joker,
is.
and maybe that is.
And maybe that number 5 pick last year is.
That's the shortest path to greatness, even though it involves probably waiting 5, 6, 7 years, whatever.
7 seems long, but
I get it. But I do think that even though this immediate group, I think, is just first or second round, I say just, but you can flip guys and you can get better.
Sure.
And Jackson and Markkanen are certainly, older than the rest of the core of the team, and they're making a lot of money, and everybody can't get paid, so they're going to flip somebody. Probably one of those 2 guys, maybe both of them. Maybe it'll be somebody else.
And there's value for those guys.
Yes. And so that's probably what it's going to take. Sure. And I think that's part of why it's going to take a while. I agree. And there'll be good times along the way.
Yeah.
I just don't think the Jazz are at add water, stir, and everything's going to be great. I think it's going to be more complicated than that. Unless that number 2 pick, lightning in a bottle.
I don't know about great next year, but I think he can be pretty good.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5. Chaos follows PK wherever he goes. He's got a story next. Stay with us.
For Jazz fans, it's been a rough few years. Well, those days are behind us as the Utah Jazz finally struck gold in the NBA Draft Lottery. Picking second. As the Jazz prepare to draft a potential superstar with the number 2 overall pick, nobody will bring you better coverage of the NBA Draft than the KSL Sports Zone. For all the breaking news, high-profile interviews, and player analysis leading right up to draft night, keep it locked on your exclusive home of Utah Jazz basketball. 97.5. The KSL Sports Zone.
The KSL Sports Zone and Beehive Meals are honoring people that impact youth sports in our communities. Nominate the youth sports volunteer you know for the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week at KSLSports.com/contest. And listen every Thursday afternoon to Jake and Ben for the winner. It's the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week. Wackiness seems to follow you wherever you go, PK. Has it happened again?
Well, it's sort of. This we had some good weather. I went down south for a couple days. Played some golf and was down there playing golf and got hooked up with this couple probably in their 30s and about the third hole. So what do you do? He says to me. And I said, I got a sports talk radio show. Oh, really? Huh. It's kind of like saving, $5 million like you did that one time. Huh. And I said, and you're an entrepreneur, huh? Yeah.
That's why he's free to play golf.
You saved a school $600,000? $600,000.
Wow. For some guys, I have a sports talk radio. That's a dream job. But for him, that's nice. And so
when you said he's an entrepreneur, what was your second option?
There wasn't one.
Oh, there wasn't. You just knew it was going to be entrepreneur. This guy.
And as soon as he said yeah, my wife responded like you did, like I knew.
Yeah.
And so he had his name on his bag. So I looked it up afterward. He's still the old reporter in me will never die. Comes across some magazine, some entrepreneurial magazine. I don't know. I don't live in that world. Cover shot
of him
with the headline above it, International Phenomenon.
Nice.
No joke. No joke.
Let's see if I can guess the magazine. Entrepreneurial Today.
I have no idea. I have no idea what that would be.
Okay. So he's an international phenomenon.
Yeah. Look there on the right. Or your left, I guess it would be.
From door to door to international phenomenon.
Yeah. So I played golf with an international phenomenon.
Learn the expert secrets to closing more deals.
Yeah. Don't give it away.
I want to. How far is it from being the little boy knocking in the streets of Utah to being plastered on the face of globally reputed magazines like Blank?
Yeah. How about that, man? I played with an international phenomenon. I mean, I'm not even a phenomenon in my own block.
That's awesome.
And his wife apparently is the same type of thing, only in another area.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So they got time to golf.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. They only played 9 and then took off and were on their way. I mean, you're an international phenomenon. You probably don't have enough time to play 18. I've played golf with a lot of people.
Yeah.
But this is the first time. International phenomenon. Yeah. And then yesterday, we went up to Wasatch, got hooked up with a young couple, and there is a connection, and I'll tell you off the air. But this young lady, easily 40 yards longer than me off the tee.
Oh, really? Really hammered it.
What a freaking player. Emma, you are a tremendous player. And
college golfer?
Yes. High school golf. Uh-huh. Corner Canyon High School.
Oh, okay.
But they didn't overlap.
Oh, they didn't?
No.
I was going to say, so there's a connection, but there really isn't. Loosely.
They figured it out on the second hole. She actually came back and did a chipping clinic for the high schoolers.
Oh, okay.
But she was like 3-time All-State and blah, blah, blah. And just a...
Where'd you do a college golf?
In Colorado.
Okay. Did she give the pro thing a shot or no?
I don't think so.
No. Okay.
But she said.
But that just goes to show you when you meet somebody who plays, it just goes to show you, and you're literally on the same course with them at the same time.
Oh, she was awesome.
Yeah. What club are you hitting here? Oh, really?
A beautiful swing.
Yeah.
Just beautiful. And I told her, like, on the third hole, I said, I'm going to swing really, really hard to see if I can stay within 20 yards from you. And I'll swing really hard. And because I swing really hard, yeah. So I might have a heart attack. And then the guy she was with says, oh, no problem, because she's a nurse also.
She'll revive you.
But it was so fun to play with this young lady.
One punch to the chest.
Who was probably in her mid-20s or so, and just watch her do her thing, man. She was really, really good. And if I could emulate that swing, I would take it right now. But I got no chance.
Yeah.
Because it was and I don't think, oh, yeah, sure, I'm much older now. I understand that. But no. Back then.
You couldn't have done that.
No way. No, not the way she hit the ball.
Coming up, 8:30, Austin Ainge, Utah Jazz, president of basketball operations, will join us. Stay with us. He'll be here in half an hour right here on The Zone. Join Scotty G and the coach, Tim Lacombe, today from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at RGS Exteriors at 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. Second question of the morning is all about questions. What do you want us to ask Austin Ainge? We got 12 minutes. And go. In our very next segment. I just put it up on Twitter. You got a really good question. Throw it out there. We'll hit him with it. I'm curious if they know, to what degree they think they know what they're going to do on draft night.
Well, I think because they're drafting so high, they've got to.
Do they know what the Wizards are going to do?
The lower you draft, the more
questions
mystery.
you are. But do they know what the Wizards are going to do? And
Today,
then
yes.
do they know what they're going to do?
But I think if
the Wizards can change their mind.
Well, if you present an offer enough. I mean, if you present Ace Bailey, that changes everything. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I can't believe they're going to do that.
Well, I suppose neither can I, but I wouldn't completely rule it out. If I'm Washington, I'd be over the moon for that.
Oh, yeah.
But I'd want something else back. I'm not going to give you 2 potential All-Stars that are 20 years old or younger. If the Jazz had agreed to that,
that's the definition of overpaying.
Washington, man, that changes the complexion dramatically overnight. But suppose there's something in return. It wouldn't be, in my mind, for what it's worth. It's probably nothing. It wouldn't be a simple, we get the number 1 pick, and we give you the number 2 pick and Ace Bailey. There'd have to be more. I'd have to get more coming back. And that's where I think it's a possibility.
Let's assume they stand pat. Do you think they know who Washington's going to use the number 1 player on?
Yeah, I think they're going to use it on DeBonsa. I think they think that. I think a lot of these times, sometimes, not maybe a lot, I don't know how many, but they go with the, as you kept saying last week, the general consensus, which was driving me nuts. Simply the consensus is good enough. And so go with
Is that like very unique?
Yeah, yeah.
The general consensus?
Right.
It's already the consensus, dude.
Right.
It's unique. It's very unique. Well, it's already one of a kind. Is it 1/2 of a kind?
Right. It can't. There's no such thing as very unique. So if they think that Washington, if the Jazz think that Washington is solidified on DeBonsa, and then it's going to be, if the Jazz are wanting DeBonsa, I have thrown in the word virtually because you cannot say at all costs. You could say maybe virtually, which should give you some wiggle room. They have to figure out what is that cost. And you still have 28 days, I think. I think June 23rd, and we're at, what are we, the 25th, 26th, or 27 days, you get the point. So they still got basically a little under 4 weeks, or right at 4 weeks, to figure something out. And then they go. This is what it's all about, man. This is what changes directions of franchises. this is what improves directions of franchises, not just improve, but significantly change probably is the better way, this decision. So, yeah, your question is legitimate. You know, Austin's got to be careful. He can't tip his hand, obviously. Yep. And he knows how to artfully answer questions.
He's done it before. He'll do it again.
Right. Anything else come to mind for you as far as what
No, I mean, I could probably talk to him for an hour. It's more about prioritizing.
Right.
I'm curious.
You could talk to a dead person for an hour, by the way.
Probably could. I probably could. Give me a cadaver, Yak. I got some things to say.
Let's not. No.
Yak, you booked the guest. Can you book a cadaver?
We're not testing that theory, but I'm with PK.
I don't even need open casket, Yak. Close that thing up.
So Austin Ainge, there's no doubt in my mind you could talk to him for an hour.
I am sure that they were horrified watching the Jazz defensively the last few years. And I'm sure it was also tempered by the fact that they knew they were doing things that were undermining their ability to play defense. So it wasn't really a fair test, but there were still a lot of bad things happening out there.
Nothing was a fair test. I get your point.
How?
Compared to what it's going to be.
Exactly. How good could and should this team be next year? And I'm acknowledging, I don't expect them to go 0 to 100 and go to a conference final or an NBA finals. I do not expect that. And my predictions have whiffed before, and they will whiff again. And maybe
that's the right
that one will whiff.
That's a right prediction.
I think it's going to the first or second round. But I'm just curious if they think this can be a top 10 defense. It could be a top 5 defense. It could be a top, 1 or 2 defense. Because largely, not completely, but largely that is going to shape how things go. And I know we all want people who can make shots, but they got a lot of people who can make shots, and they are going to score. And you look at the Thunder and Spurs, they're really good defensively. You don't get a lot of freebies off them. You'd better knock down your half-court shots or your open shots. You'd better get out and run when you can, because you do not want to face them with a set defense.
Half-court shots?
With a Wemby. I'm just making fun of them.
Oh, okay. But I didn't know if you meant in the set.
No. I know. You have to
offense
really
in the half-court.
In the series, you'd better, when you get an open shot, you better take it and make it, because you don't get a lot of them. You get guys who don't want to take a shot and who pass up. You get a good shot with 13 on the shot clock, and you pass it up. No guarantee you're going to get another good one. You may have to force something against pressure, right? So you'd better be putting them under that same test at the other end of the court. And I just wonder to what degree, top 10, that'd be pretty good, and it probably means they'd have a pretty good team and a pretty good year. But if
they're
they
probably
think,
going to be that in offense
if
too.
If they think they can be top 4 or 5, and that's where they're going to push these guys, because there is a lot of size. I mean, a lot of size, a lot of athletic ability.
But there's got to be some level of patience too. As it grows into what it will
and
become.
I get all that, so I'm curious, and I don't know that he can tell us that. That may be something he has to dance around as well.
He can
it's
put
not
an
just
expectation out there. There's nothing wrong with that.
When you have 12 minutes, it's not just about asking good questions, questions you want to answer to, but you have to make sure you ask people questions that they can answer. And we've all been in situations, we've probably done it ourselves too, where you're in a situation and you look back, you're like, oh, what could they really say about that? I mean, they may want to say more.
I don't think this is
couldn't.
The type of interview to get a no comment. We don't need to be, oh, look at us, we're tough guys, we're going to ask the tough questions. No. It's more about asking the correct questions, the interesting questions that allows him to expound. So I agree with you 100% on that. I can go in there, who are you going to pick, blah, 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 blah. And, we
that's
don't
what I'm
waste time here.
If they know, I mean, the old Liars Club is always in session. And, you can say, hey, I'm 80 to 90% sure I know what they're going to do, but there's always a wild card out there, that.
Well, I think you can ask general questions pertaining to topics improving the team. For instance, do you anticipate the Jazz at any level being a player in free agency this year? I think that's a totally fair question.
Yeah.
There's some guys out there. They're not going to go LeBron. I get that. But there's a guy like Quentin Grimes.
Yeah.
Is out there.
I mean, I could throw out there, more open-ended as opposed to putting a name on it. I've thought for a while that they're going to add 1 or 2 veteran perimeters and give themselves some veteran ball handling. So when they're playing good teams and someone's got to have the ball in the last 5 minutes making good decisions, they've been there. as opposed to putting somebody else in a tough spot.
Yeah. And does that come through free agency or acquisitions?
Well, and does he see it the same way? Or it's like, hey, for better or worse, I want the ball in Keontae's hands.
I think he probably sees it the same. I trust in your basketball knowledge that you any type of forecasting rosters, you're going to be in the ballpark as the management is. Because if you see it and you watch the games, all the games, and so do they, and I don't think they have the knowledge of what can be done. You have a general knowledge of what needs to be done.
Yeah.
So I think that's.
So how about you?
You better answer that. I want you to ask that question.
Okay, I will. Free agency, what else?
I want to know that the prior administration would send out a list of guys they're working out, right? And if there's anybody who had the opportunity to go back into if it was an underclassman, they wouldn't make them available. If it was a senior, they would make him available. Now, they don't do that now. So I want to know the fact that you're drafting second, how much do you anticipate, or have you already done, and we don't know it, working guys out? Or is it about, hey, because it's number 2 here, it's simply about meeting guys and getting to know them?
Yeah.
But even at that, the DeBonsa thing is a wild card. What don't they know about A.J. DeBonsa that they don't already know? Guy's been around all the time, and if he's not here, you're there.
Yeah. How old was A.J. DeBonsa when he was on their radar? Given the fact they were in Massachusetts
4.
And he was Massachusetts.
He was dunking reverse in those little, baskets.
The little Tykes baskets, he was throwing it down.
I would say at
6th or 7th grade.
15 tops.
15 at the earliest or 15 at the latest?
He was the Gatorade Player of the Year in Massachusetts as a freshman.
So I'm talking,
and I just said 6th or 7th grade. That's why I wonder if in the 6th or 7th grade he was already on the radar.
I would imagine.
Well, plus Austin was back there.
Right, I know. And because they were literally in the same state.
Yeah.
I mean, not that they couldn't have known about somebody in Ohio, but whatever.
But there's a connection there. Everybody in Cleveland knew about LeBron. Right. CC Sabathia tells a story of one of his friends saying, come on, we got to go see this guy. It was a day off, and he was in Akron. And CC didn't want to drive all that way over to Akron. It's his neighborhood, but he's a day off. Yeah. He didn't want to go. And so then a little while later, they played in maybe even where the Cavs played. I don't remember the story. And CC Sabathia, who's obviously a baseball guy, a Hall of Famer, he goes and watches him, and he says, I was blown away. I should have driven to Akron if I would have had any idea. So, and I was a high school kid, and that was young. And in the way we are these days with the advancements, some of these guys make it, some of them don't. Not every kid who's featured prominently at 15 years old, 16 years old, turns out at 26 years old to be all that. A lot of them do. Obviously, LeBron did. Jabari Parker had injury. Bryce Harper did. Yeah. And so he had the piece on him and all that. So, yeah, I'm sure they've known about him for several years. And does that change it? Then how do they go about knowing this is our guy? What is his and the Jazz method? Is there anything that isn't quite as conventional? Do they need to work out guys? Or are they working out guys just for who knows what's going to happen 2, 3, 4, or 5 years down the road? So establish a relationship now.
Talking to him a year ago when he showed up, when he got hired, When he got hired pretty late in the process, asked him about that. He said, you got to do your homework on every guy because they're all going to get traded. They're all going to be offered in a trade or be a free agent. You never know what's going to come across your desk. You want as much information as you can get. So you research everybody in the draft, not knowing who you're going to be talking about in 3, 4, 5 years.
It reminds me of what the colleges have been saying about establish a relationship with a 15-year-old. And if he doesn't come the first time around,
maybe he comes the second or the third.
And we've seen that. We've seen that here locally, particularly with BYU. Guys that they've missed out on originally, like this tight end, right, from SC, Lions. And they missed out on him the first time around. They didn't miss out on him on the second time around.
And it's getting to the point now when we say missed out on him, did they even want to hit on him? Or did they want to use that spot on a junior, knowing full well he's going to go somewhere as a freshman and play, and run off to your Mountain West Pac-12, Big 12. Right, yes, yeah. But very few freshmen can play, and then there's only so many spots left to develop more guys. And they know, hey, go play there, and we'll be watching. We'll come talk to you in a couple of years.
No, you come talk to them. We don't tamper.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, now you're accusing BYU of tampering.
I'm accusing everybody.
Which includes
of tampering.
BYU.
It does include BYU. It includes everybody.
If I go to hell and when I get there, there's 5 million people, does that make me feel better?
San Diego State will be standing right next to you, dude. They're tampering too.
Right. We understand they're low-life slimes, but we're different.
Okay. All right.
They tell us we're different.
Yeah.
You just accused BYU of tampering.
Everybody's calling the high school coach. How's Bob doing? All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Austin Ainge. We'll talk with the Utah Jazz president of basketball operations next. Stay with us.
They've been doing it for a while.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Man, the myth, the legend, thorough Big T. Bailey. I'm not sure how much you've had a chance to watch A.J. DeBonsa, but you have any thoughts if you have been able to see him a little bit?
Personally, I think he's the best player right now in that group. I did get a chance to watch all these guys play, maybe A.J. a little bit more, but he's been groomed for the next level. You look at what BYU was running. The offenses look like NBA offenses. The ISOs look like ISOs. He's becoming a really good playmaker as well. Just a great season, far and above Player of the Year in college. I would be surprised if Washington didn't take him. He's going to be nice. It's not going to be perfect for him coming in at this level. He's going to have to learn some things, the physicality, the speed of the game, the number of games, potential rookie wall, but everybody goes through those things. He's going to be a great player in this league.
Catch Jake and Ben afternoons from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The NBA playoffs grind on. Well, not for the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're out, swept. Do you think they folded with the collapse in Game 1? I mean, Game 4 was worse than 2 and 3, but I never felt like they were in Games 2 and 3.
I suppose. I just don't think they're good enough.
Just not good enough to even compete and stay close.
That does surprise me. Yeah, I agree.
That's the part.
I understand.
Yeah. Like if they'd lost in 5 and lost by 8 points here and 11 points there and 4 points here, okay, they're not good enough.
So be it.
They just got smoked. The whole Atkinson, man, he never said it, and I thought he kind of cleaned it up afterwards, but I guess you can't. That whole thing about the analytics say we won 2 of 3, and he did say nobody in the public wants to hear that. It's results-oriented business. But, man, that part just got left out, and it was just all analytics. I just don't see how the analytics matter when you're getting beat that bad.
He was just trying to pump his guys up, instill some confidence in them. Hey, guys, we're right there. And it's coach speak. I don't hold these guys accountable for that. They're trying to figure out a way to motivate their guys, get them guys to believe in themselves, and you gotta play that game. I mean, come on. As a parent, you're supposed to say, "I believe in you" at all times, when you probably have tons of doubt because you were there. But you got to say it. And I know he took grief for that.
Yeah.
Guys, we suck, man. We're. I can't wait till Memorial Day night when this thing is over. What do you want me to do? I can't pull a rabbit out of a hat here.
We're going to lose Monday. We're going to meet Tuesday. And Wednesday, we're all going to be on planes going somewhere warm.
So,
warm and sandy.
I get it. I get what he's trying to do there. They just weren't good enough. But now, with that in mind, I'm still surprised that the gap was that big. I will go there. I believed in Cleveland more than they showed.
I just don't think right now people are talking enough about Games 2 and 3. Because Game 4 was so awful. But that Games 2 and 3, it's like, guys, a little more.
Yeah, New York had the momentum. They're playing their best ball. I would venture to say every single guy who's in this rotation playing serious minutes, this is the best he's ever played at the NBA level. And they have a belief.
It is a good question, and we can get to it later because I think Austin's getting on the phone right now. But the East is weak, and that is part of the reason the Knicks are dominating. But at some point, you got to say 11 in a row, most of them blowouts, that's impressive. It can't all be the East is weak. New York's got to be doing something right here.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
And I think that, this morning in New York, it's New York's great. It's all about New York. I'm not sure I'm that far in on them, but I got to acknowledge 11 in a row. That is something. And so it'll be interesting to see if how they match up with the West when that thing gets sorted out. DJ PK, and we're joined now by Austin Ainge, Utah Jazz, president of basketball operations. Austin, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
The draft is still a few weeks away here. Do you have an idea how it's going to play out now? I know you've been working on it for a while, but there's still time for curveballs here. What's your level of confidence that you could predict now what's going to happen then?
Well, I will say that, all the permutations to 2 are a little easier than in years past, DJ. But, no, I don't think we know. I'm not sure the teams know. I'm not sure we know exactly what we're going to do. I don't know if other teams are either. There's still a lot of information that can be gained in this time of year, and everyone tries to go slow and get it right.
Yeah, Austin, that leads me into my very first question. Because it's 2 draft position as opposed to 5 and 6 and so forth, the field as far as potentials are a little more narrow, obviously, because it's higher. What type of work does you and your people, the staff, the management need to do between now and, I guess, draft night, knowing that it's a little bit different because you are drafting so high?
Yeah, so kind of this time of year, what we do is we pore over the medical stuff, right? That's a huge thing that we have not had access to in the past, and we make sure we get experts to look at any issues that arise. And, these guys all got tested in various different ways at the combine, and we'll be getting some of these things, some of these reports in this week. And so we'll do a lot of that work. We will get a chance to meet with these guys again and talk with them and try to get them to know them better as people. And then we continue to watch film. We'll go back and watch, in some cases all the way back through their high school seasons and through their college season, and just, with a narrowed focus on a narrow range now, we'll go just extra deep and make sure we've got the full scope and all the information fresh in our minds and do the best we can.
In the past, we've seen the Jazz draft whatever year, 8, 10, 15, and they bring a lot of guys through for workouts. And you see a lot of players who end up, Steven Adams came through at one point, they didn't draft him, but you see players like that who go on to really good careers. But what's the cutoff? I know the top guys don't usually work out, and when you're drafting too, I don't know if guy 10 wants to work out for you and spend all that energy and get on a flight. What is the cutoff there as far as getting guys to work out for you?
Yeah, your instinct is right there that the guys that feel like they're and that we communicate that we're serious about, will come in, but it's not a huge list. And the guys at this range of the draft, it was the same last year at 5. They come in and typically do an interview and then a little shooting workout, not live against other people. And so there's a limited amount of information you can gain from that, and we try to not overrate it or underrate it, just properly put it in its place and add it to the pile of information we're gathering. I would say the most important thing is we just get them to spend time with coach and us and have a dinner and have a breakfast and just really get to know them as people, because honestly, none of these players are ready-made. None of them are good enough right now. They all need to progress, and who they are determines that as much as their talent.
So all of us are fired up about the draft, but everything happens so quickly because then you have the free agency that hits immediately, basically right afterward, and maybe a day or two or a week between, but you get the point. And so we focus on the draft, but how about adding talent through trade acquisitions or free agency? How much of that do you anticipate?
Definitely some. It's hard to anticipate exactly how much, but we'll try to be aggressive, appropriately aggressive, in adding and making our team better. We have some free agents of our own from the team. There's some free agents out there. We'll we could go a few different directions to address some of the weaknesses, and some of that will be determined by which position we draft, right? So there's a lot to do, and most of our roster is built in that end of June, beginning of July, and it's a busy time and an important time. So we've got a lot of work to do. The teams in the West are really good, and the teams in the league are really smart, and the rules will be different next year. So there'll be a lot of changes. It'll be a lot more competitive and challenging, and we're very aware that we got to take a big jump here in a lot of different ways. But we're pretty excited about the group, the talent level, and some of the progress we're seeing from some of the players.
Obviously, the other roster moves depend on which player you end up getting with the draft, but you can't draft a veteran. Do you need a veteran ball handler or two around the perimeter?
Well, it's definitely something we're looking at. I mean, look, there's the way I would say it, DJ, is that you've got specific needs, and sometimes those needs are glaring enough that you just go get a player that fits them. Mm-hmm. But they have to be good enough in the end, right? So, I want a shooter, I want a shot blocker, I want a ball handler. But if they're not good enough to play in the playoffs, then it doesn't help you. So we have to be able to get the guys that are good enough to play. And I think we have an amazing coaching staff that I think can figure a lot of things out. So I would say need is definitely a discussion, but also overall quality. And you're just balancing those things.
You talk about getting guys who are good enough to play. This question excludes Ace Bailey and Keontae George, but there was a number of guys who've been brought on the team in the last 3 years. Do you believe that they are good enough?
I mean, some of them, and some of them are getting better every day, and they just need to be good enough by the playoffs or by the regular season. So we've got a lot of guys getting better. I feel like we've got a number of guys that can play. Some of it is also the role you're put in, right? Yeah, if you're asked to do too much, sometimes as a young player, you can look inefficient or out of place. And then, when the top of the roster is a little more in place, their job gets easier or a little more focused. And, but a lot of this remains to be seen. We got a lot of figuring out to do in the season, and a lot of competition going on for those minutes and possessions and role. And I'm really excited for it. Our guys are pumped. They're in the gym right now working out. We've got a big group, including Jaren. He's looking great, looking healthy, and pumped.
Defensively, this team has been 29th or 30th for quite a stretch, going over a couple of years now. And obviously there's a lot of reasons for that, and some of those reasons are going to go away. How good can they get and how quickly? Can this be a top 10 defensive team next year? Can it be top 5? It's going to be a lot of size and athletic ability, which ought to help.
Yeah, I mean, we sure hope we make a big jump there. That was definitely a big consideration in bringing in Jaren, who's a former Defensive Player of the Year and a guy who can cover up a lot of weaknesses of other players and can play multiple positions. But we also know that, one player can't do it all. So we need improvement throughout the roster, and we need, defense is also something we're considering strongly in the draft and in free agency. So I think there's a lot of ways we need to address it: internal improvement, external improvement, and just a little more size and talent on the floor should help all those things. I have high expectations for this group in a big improvement, but I'm trying to avoid specific numbers. I don't like putting the pressure or the limits of numbers, right? I don't want to put limits on these guys, nor do I want to put the pressures, but we try to put pressure in process. And so far, I'm very pleased seeing how hard everyone's working and the focus on even the player development on defense. It will be a big emphasis all summer.
Journalism these days, particularly sports journalism, as you know full well, it's devolved into sources said, right? Sources are all over the place these days, I guess. And so obviously, the Jazz have reached out to Washington. I'm going to ask you a general question, so it's not anything specific. But when deals are made, what is the process in terms of Team A calling Team B or Team B calling Team A? Could you just walk us through generally how these things work?
Yeah. Well, I will say, PK, the way things generally work is not you call and make a trade offer the day after the lottery. So that was pretty ridiculous. So generally trades happen like this, right? Like we talk all the time with other teams. We see each other at places like the Combine and Summer League and college games and NBA games and G League games. And we call and we check in periodically, during the season, I would say once a month. During this time of year, more frequently. And we have conversations. And who do you like? Who do you not like? What are you looking for? What type of players do you need? And then if there's like, we maybe have extras of something and they need something, maybe, okay, do you like these guys? No. What about at this price? No. And we just kind of communicate in general terms about kind of our goals and needs as a team. Well, hey, we kind of like this guy, if you ever like to move him. And then maybe a year later they come back and said, hey, we're thinking of moving this guy, or we're looking for this. Is this something you'd still be interested in? You just kind of have these general conversations a lot, and to get a feel for where teams are at. And it's of both teams' interests to communicate a little bit what we're trying to do so we can try to get something done, right? If there's something that works for both teams. And then, if there's something that in general terms makes a little bit of sense, you go, okay, I'd give you a first-round pick for that guy, or I'd give you 2 seconds for this point guard. And they go, oh, no, that's way too high. And you say, well, let us know if there's anything. And then you both hang up and you just sit and wait and see if anybody budges. So it's not like you're not like convincing people. They all have their own evaluations, just like we do. So you don't sit there and try to sell, well, this guy has really done this and this and this, and look at his stats. Like they roll their eyes. They don't want to hear that, So it's really just kind of look, I'd do it at this price, but not at this. If you want to come back, call me, or if you want to add in this other player, and you just kind of do general terms. And it's a lot of sitting and waiting, and seeing if something budges. So that's kind of how it goes.
Well, Austin, we could go on all day. I got 50 more questions, but we'll save it for next time. I know you only got a few minutes here, but we appreciate you. The fans are dying to hear from you. We appreciate you. I know you got other things on your plate, but giving them a few minutes and talking. People will be chewing on this forever, and I bet you can guess what's going to end up on social media already.
Appreciate it, guys. Always fun.
All right. Thank you, Austin. There's Austin Ainge, Utah Jazz president of basketball operations.
Yeah, taking from that, they're going to be active in free agency and trade possibilities. That it's not just we're so focused on a draft, but then as soon as that's over, boom, and they're going to be active. I suspect maybe, the draft is a move, but 2 moves beyond that.
Yeah, I'd totally buy that.
And
then what are they?
Major on the scale.
And what are they? Again, goes back to, who did they draft? Right? Because there's a roster spot, and you're betting on that guy.
That's why I'm bullish on this team being a lot better, certainly than it was the last 4 years, but even better than a lot of people anticipate for next season.
We had to let him go there, but it'll be interesting down the road to see if watching these playoffs, because he went right to that. They don't have to be good enough today. They have to be good enough when the season starts in October. They have to be good enough when you get to the playoffs next April. We're seeing the best teams in the biggest games. They're guys who just can't go. They can't. And it's not one injury-prone guy. We got a couple guys on both the Spurs and the Thunder who've had to miss games here. Games that really matter. Players who really matter. So do you have to build a 12-player roster so you got your 8, 9, or 10, whatever you're trying to do when you get to that point? because there's always going to be a couple guys out. If these guys can't go now, it doesn't seem like a fluke to me, given how many guys have been out for long periods of time. And it's easy to say, hey, Embiid's injury prone. Well, he's got a history that backs that up. He is injury prone, but does Jalen Williams?
I like Embiid is basically healthy prone.
The flip side of that.
Yeah. Right?
But right. But even
sucks, but that's the truth.
Yeah. But we're seeing it everywhere with multiple guys and even role guys who aren't playing that big of minutes. There's something about the stress they're under now. There's something about the way they're eating or training and all the minutes they play and the running, cutting, jumping. I mean, guys are just breaking down left and right here. There have been so many guys out in this playoffs. And the Spurs and Thunder have been able to get through it. The Spurs, because Wemby's awesome, and he's been able to largely stay out there, although he's missed almost 2 full games during the playoffs.
I believe that the Jazz, the mindset is it's go time right now. It's go time this month, and then till the first or second week of July. And then we'll have a much better idea, and I think there'll be significant additions to the team. Obviously the draft pick, but I think there'll be 2 others that can step up. I think they think that the window is not fully open, but it is opening as we speak, and they want to take advantage of the time that they have right now.
There's one, I definitely heard that in Austin's voice, just having, talked to him multiple times over the years, and you've talked to him even more. And I think that there was one other thing, just to amplify that a little bit. We can get to it next. I mean, I just think it's crystal clear in his voice, and it's hard to give them this and concede them this, but if you're thinking realistically, you need to, and we'll get to that next. Stay with us.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeCoe.
The Jazz selecting number 2 in the upcoming NBA draft. So, if there's one thing that scares me, AJ's the safer pick. And that's what makes me nervous, is that Washington is going to be like, okay, we've really swung and missed, and we've really done some problems. So let's go the safest superstar available in AJ and let somebody else take the risk on Darren. If I'm the Jazz, then I take that risk on Darren Peterson. But I exhaust every option available to me to get AJ.
I encourage everybody to go back and you to watch pre-Kansas film on Darren Peterson. I want you to watch his handle, specifically how he navigates ball screens. He can become a better passer, but he's not bad as a secondary playmaker. You just look at him, it's his frame. To me, there are real reasons why this guy can be great.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, KSL Sports Zone. Austin Ainge, Utah Jazz, president of basketball operations, just joined us for a few minutes in the last segment. And you were picking up on it, well, I think partially because of conversations you have with people in the organization, but also just from Austin's tone of voice, which I think was, even for the people listening who don't know Austin personally, I think you could hear in his voice, there's some urgency there. You were saying just before the break, it's go time now.
Yeah.
For them, it's today and every day. We're all thinking, well, when they come out here in October, but for them, it's go time now. This is when young players improve. They've obviously got a really important draft pick to make, and they've got to then fill in holes on the roster after the draft pick is made, and they have a little better idea what the roster looks like. Nobody wants to hear about your problems when you're the one who's making the decisions. Like, they chose to do the rebuild. They chose to do the 4-year tank.
Yep.
We had to cover it, and fans had to watch it, listen to it, endure it, or ignore it, which sucks too, because people like to go to Jazz games and like to think about 50-win teams and playoff runs. And so we've all got our level of angst, annoyment, whatever it is, over watching the last 4 years. They do too. Now, nobody wants to hear it because they made the decision to do it. But it was really obvious talking to Will Hardy, and I think he thought a year ago that they were going to go for it, and then the decision was made not to. He can't wait to go for it.
Right decision.
But I think the fact that they've got the number 2 pick in the draft and there's all this talent, yes. And I think that the front office really feels it too. Now, because they chose it, nobody wants to hear that. But nonetheless, sitting there losing, making guys sit, it's no fun. That's not fun of it.
No,
it's
over.
And when they win, I don't know how much fun it'll still be for them because they don't enjoy the wins very long. They're on to the next thing. But there's still some level of satisfaction looking back at a winning streak going, all right, we're doing it right. We're making progress here.
Well, just winning more will be
W's together.
Intoxicating, and it will become a drug to whatever level you win at to win more than that. And I think at this point next season, most likely the season will be over, but there'll be a lot of optimism that this is just the beginning, literally, and they will go from there. So whatever they establish in the 26-27 season, that is the ground level, and it goes up. And they anticipate dealing from a position of strength this time next year as they make decisions, and I think they will. I think this team will have a winning record. I'm going to put it, let's go conservatively right now because it could change, and it will change. Obviously, it'll change in the next 5 to 6 weeks. It could change substantially. I'm going to go 45 right now, knowing it. Okay, let's go Dabonsa or Peterson. And as Austin just said, no rookie, with very rare exception, is ready to have a major impact on your team. It's going to be about potential, particularly now with these kids only playing one season of college basketball. So with that in mind, I'm going to go 45, but I reserve the opportunity to get to July 15th, and I may be willing to go 50. And at that point, that's going to be a lot of winning, right? What is it? That's like 2/3 of your games if you win 50. What's
50 and 32 wouldn't be quite 2/3, but it's close. I think 50. Yeah, 50, 54, 55
so
puts you there.
I'd be willing to go there, maybe even more, and that's just the starting point. That's what's cool about this is nowhere near a finished product, but it doesn't have to be as much of a depressing struggle to get to whatever the finished product is. And that finished product is only for a season because then you make changes to the roster for the next season and you sort of, in a sense, start over. What you're going to see happen is they're going to start over each season as every team does, but you're going to have a strong nucleus that you're going to start from. That's the cool part, is that they will be starting from a strong point each of the next 5 seasons, I believe.
10, 50, 90, 100. Yeah, maybe you could go 90, 90. We should probably ask Mike Fulton next time we get him on. But 10 wins in the NFL, I feel like you're a good team. 50 in the NBA, you're good. 90 in MLB. 100 points in hockey. Maybe some want to go 90, but you can miss the playoffs at 90, so I don't really like going 90. Maybe you put it at 95. But those are the round numbers you want to hit.
And they're identifiable numbers.
Yeah, easy to remember, identifiable. You hit this. You get 100 points. If you get knocked out in the first round, you're a good team. Now, we see that Dallas and Minnesota both had 100 points and had to meet in the opening round of the Stanley Cup Finals. A good team had to get knocked out.
Right.
It was going to happen. But if you're at 100, it can't be argued.
And I think they will add at least one critical component to the thing you're talking about, the backcourt. Now, that does determine to an extent who they draft. Because if you get Darren Peterson,
the minutes are going to start getting scarce. Right.
So you may want to allocate your money in another direction. But I still think even if they draft Darren Peterson, they're still going to add a player at that position, that wing player. You know, I was looking through the list of free agents over the weekend because I know we're going to be talking about it. And I put Grimes out there as a name, just as an example to start discussion. Not saying, they're targeting him, but that type of player. You know, he was somebody that was discussed a few years back, and now let's see that type of player that they can make an impact. You know, they did it. I think he was a restricted free agent there a few years back. Corey Maggette, right?
Corey Maggette. He was always on the Jazz wish list for about a decade, and it never worked out.
Well, didn't they? But they signed him, but it was a restricted.
Yeah, they signed him to an offer sheet. The Clippers matched it.
So I'm talking about
Clippers.
that. Not a superstar by any stretch, but a player who can come in, a vet dude who knows what to do. It's like, okay, Will Hardy says, Corey, here's what I need you to do. Okay, coach, got it. And then he goes out there and he does it. And that's how he's going to have an impact. I believe they're going to get at least one, if not two, of those types of players for this next season.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Brian Howell, Colorado Buffs writer for Buff Zone and the Boulder Daily Camera, joins us next. The spring football tour continues. Stay with us. DJ PK, and we're joined now by Brian Howell, Colorado Buffaloes writer for Buff Zone and the Boulder Daily Camera. Our spring football tour continues. Brian, good morning.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
Good. We're trying to figure the Buffs out. That was just a bump in the road because Dion had a major health problem in the off season. So of course that season went sideways. It wasn't normal preparation, or hey, they had two awesome players, and with them gone, it's just not what it was, and it's not going to be. There's two potential storylines. Do you gravitate to either one of those? Is there a third one out there you prefer?
Those are the main two, and we're still trying to figure out which is which. Obviously losing Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter was huge, and that was the backbone of the previous teams, right? And for much of Dion's coaching career, and so losing those guys was huge. And they missed on replacing some guys, but then there's also the fact that Dion was gone for a good chunk of the offseason, and he was not a part of some of those guys bringing them in. Last year there was the spring portal window, and they had a lot of newcomers come in during that window, and he wasn't really a part of bringing them in because he was going through all of his health things. So he mentioned last year there was some guys that when he got back for fall camp, he was meeting for the first time some of his own players. So I do think that was a huge factor. He believes that was a major factor in some of their failures last year. And so it's time to go prove that. I mean, we're going to find out if that's a difference maker this year.
What's the level of true competition at quarterback between Juju Lewis and our guy, Isaac Wilson?
Yeah, it's definitely a competition. I mean, there's people in the building that believe Isaac had the better spring between the two players. So it's definitely – there's a lot of people that kind of assume that Juju is the guy, but I wouldn't assume that. I think Isaac's very much in it. I think whoever has the better fall camp is going to be the starter when they go to Georgia Tech.
For years, we heard Kyle Whittingham say, run the ball and play defense. Running the ball has not been Colorado's strength under Deion Sanders. Is that going to change? And if so, who is the running back likely to change it?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, running the ball and defense were their 2 weak points last year, which is why they were 3-9. But running the ball, I think it's going to be a committee. Brendan Marion comes in with that go-go offense, and it's always been known for running the football. And he's always had kind of a mix of guys that run the ball. And so we don't know who's going to be the main running back, but they've got a stable of backs that they feel are pretty capable to get the job done. I don't see them having a 1,000-yard rusher, but I could see them having 3 guys that finish with 500 to 600.
You talk about on the defensive side there, you had some struggles. Well, reading up on them, I'm hearing that linebacker should be a strength. You had 3 transfer portals, 1 kid from Texas, a 4-star, and you brought in a couple other kids there. And I think there's 2 returning. Linebacker's an important position, obviously. Do you think that's going to be the strength of the defense?
It kind of needs to be. I mean, that and the front set, the whole front seven needs to be a strength for them. But linebacker, I think they're in a much better spot than last year. Leona Leafau was a 2-year starter at Texas. Helped them get to the CFP a couple of years ago, and is a pretty good player. And Gideon Lampron, his middle name is ESPN, so he can play. He was a FCS All-American, then he was an all-conference guy at Bowling Green. He was one of the top 10 guys in the country last year in TFL, so he can play as well. So Tyler Martinez from New Mexico State is another one that they like. Yeah, I think that trio, they believe that might be the best trio of linebackers they've had since Deion got there.
I have read that the Colorado secondary could be the strength of the team. That wouldn't be surprising given that Deion was a cornerback in the NFL. The safety, Boo Carter, is he really going to be that good? I've read a little bit of stuff about him. They're not booing. They're chanting, boo. So is Boo Carter the guy, and is the secondary the group?
He very well can be. He was the guy that just had some issues at Tennessee. I don't know what went into it, but he just had some issues there, and he was kicked off the team last year. And when I talked to some Tennessee people, their take was, "Yeah, good luck with that." Meaning he's our problem now. So, but the Buffs like him a lot. Deion Sanders has said he thinks that he's a possible first-round type of corner. They brought him in to kind of play nickel, but they moved him out at corner. He might actually be one of their top 2 corners. Deion thinks he can be, a high draft pick at that spot. He should be a leader. He's a 4-star guy. He should be one of their best players. If he's not, it probably means he's probably reverting back to some of those issues he had at Tennessee. But they feel like he's had a really good spring, really good offseason, and he can be a star for them.
See if they can run the ball, but throw the ball. We talked about the quarterbacks. Now the guys receiving the balls, catching the passes. Danny Scudero of San Jose State. Well, I believe he led the level at, what's that, FBS? Is that what they called? That he led in receiving yards out of San Jose. Now it's a jump, but we've seen guys make jumps, and it's not as big a jump as we anticipate. What are you looking for from him?
Yeah, he's definitely a guy that's going to get the ball. He's a really dynamic receiver, led the country in receiving yards last year. And, they had LaJohntay Wester a couple years ago that came from G5 and was one of the top receivers in the country, and he had a great year for them. They believe Danny can be not only a top receiver for them as far as production, but a leader for them as well. So I think he's going to be probably their best receiver, but they also have DeAndre Moore, Joseph Williams. DeAndre came in from Texas. Joseph was here last year. So they believe they've got a really good receiving core. People just don't know a lot about him yet.
We're talking all around the issue. You got to win the line of scrimmage. Do they have a decided advantage in either the offensive line or the defensive line? Is it a push? Are they going to be playing uphill? I think we all remember watching them, and a really good quarterback, but they were throwing a lot of quick passes to the perimeter because they couldn't block anybody. How good are they going to be on the line of scrimmage?
Well, that's the question for them, and it always is. And, they brought in a whole bunch of new people again. And so the offensive line is totally revamped. They lose Jordan Seaton, who's a potential first-round tackle that's now at LSU. They like some of the guys they brought in, but we're going to see. I mean, I know that's not answering your question, but I think that's where they are with that. Is you have so many new pieces, but they bring in a center from Houston, Demetrius Hunter, who was a 2-year starter. That's kind of the rock there in the middle. And then on the defensive line, they're thin, but they do like some of the pieces they have there. Santana Hopper has produced everywhere he's been. I think this is his third school. He was an all-conference player at Tulane last year, helped them get to the CFP. So they do have some really good pieces. I don't think their depth is great on the defensive line. And offensive line, I think there's a bunch of question marks until we see that group together.
Jordan Seaton, we remember him when Colorado got him. He was a big name, 4 or 5-star, whatever it might be. And on the way out, he's making some comments that something along the lines at LSU that it just means more. How was that received in Colorado, and what was your perception of it?
Yeah, I mean, the way it was perceived, Dion has taken the high road, as he usually does on those things, and just says, hey, we don't talk about other schools and other kids. But, my perception is, well, yeah, I think it does mean more at LSU. I mean, you look at Colorado, their history over the last 20 years, and LSU's history, it does mean more. It also costs more at LSU.
That's for sure.
Is there still the buzz around town? I mean, we remember spring games a couple of years ago, massive crowds. It is hard to be cool and on the cutting edge and maintain that just by its nature, that kind of stuff. People move on to the next big thing, whatever it is. What's the buzz like around the team right now?
Not the same. Clearly, the honeymoon's, definitely over for Dion. This is the first time since he was there. This was his 4th spring, and they didn't charge for tickets because I think they knew they wouldn't sell a whole lot. And the attendance was the lowest that it's been, even with the free tickets. So, the buzz is definitely gone. He's got to win. I mean, these fans in Colorado for all sports, this state is Broncos and whoever wins. And if the Buffs aren't winning, they're not going to get a lot of support. And so coming off of a 3-9, there are a lot of fans that are in that, prove it mode. They got to go out there and win some games.
How about with the new athletic director? We know Rick George is out, and they brought in the University of New Mexico athletic director. Does that make it turn up the heat a little bit on Dion?
I think that's a good question and one that we don't know. I think anytime you have a football coach that wasn't hired by the athletic director, you're going to look at that. With Rick George, I think Dion would have been just fine. There is the fact that no matter who the AD is, if they wanted to get rid of Dion after this year, they still owe him $25 million, and Colorado doesn't have a whole lot of money. So with a new AD, though, does he go out and find it if this is a disastrous year? I don't know. He doesn't have a history with that. He has one other AD job, and it was for 1 year in New Mexico, and he didn't have to fire a football coach. So we're not really sure what that's going to look like, but I think the fact that there is a new AD, it does change the dynamic a little bit, and it's going to make you look at it more.
I think we all get he has to win, but winning's defined different places. There's places you can win 8 or 9 games and be in hot water. There are places if you get to 6, you're celebrated. They do have both Georgia Tech and Northwestern on the schedule, so they're playing 11 teams from the Power 4 leagues out of 12. How much winning does he have to do so that people can say he's winning?
Well, I think a bowl game would be huge for them. I mean, that's kind of the thing that, in my mind, they need to shoot for. They're going to shoot higher, but if they're in a bowl game, and it'll be 2 bowl games in 3 years, that hasn't been done in 20 years at Colorado. So that would be a huge deal for them. But I do think be better than 3-9. You know, if you're 4-8 and you've got a bunch of close losses, that maybe doesn't look so bad. If you're 5-7 with some close losses, maybe that doesn't look so bad. But ultimately, I think if they're 6-6 and get to a bowl game, that's going to be celebrated around here.
How about the high school recruiting? Because I've been reading a couple things. It seems like it's going a little bit better right now. I mean, obviously it won't be for this season, but down the line.
Yeah, they've had a surge. 6 commits in the last week. A week or 8 days, something like that.
Right.
A couple of 4-stars as well. So they've had a nice surge here in the last little bit, and their recruiting class for 27 is looking pretty good. And so they're off to a good start. But again, you got to finish that, right? It's one thing to get the commits. That you got to hold on to those commits until they sign in December and arrive in January. And the key to that's going to be winning. You know, if they're 3-9. You know, 2-10 or something like that, a lot of those guys might jump ship. So you got to win games to keep those guys on your commit list because, as we know, guys flip all the time.
Well, Brian, we appreciate a few minutes for a peek at the Buffs and where they think stand in the spring. Thanks for joining us.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Brian Howell, Colorado Buffs writer for Buff Zone and the Boulder Daily Camera. Colorado will host Weber State Saturday, September 12th, and Utah visits Saturday, October 17th. BYU does not see the Buffs this year.
That's too bad.
It feels like a W.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Yeah. It does. Yeah, definitely. I think if your goal is to get to a bowl, which is a legitimate goal for Colorado. I'm not scoffing at it. Well, BYU's goals are much higher. So right now, on paper, it would seem like that would be a win, and I believe it'll be a win for Utah.
No matter which of the local schools you root for, you think you have problems, and you can probably tell us all about your team's problems. But man, when he said they've only been to a bowl game 2 out of 3, was it once in 20 years?
Yeah, last 20 years. Yeah.
Oh, golly, man, that's a lot of losing.
But it shows you how far down they've been.
A lot of losing.
Well, I've been over there many times, and the Shedeur Travis Hunter senior year, I thought I was placed in a foreign land.
Didn't look anything like any of your other trips over there.
Nothing.
Right. It was packed. There was energy.
And
people
Fox,
were pumped.
Whatever they call it, Big Noon, was there.
Yeah.
So I got there like 8 o'clock in the morning, and it was rocking.
Of all the things Brian said, in Colorado, it's the Broncos and whoever's winning.
Well, that eliminates the Rockies.
You got to win to be relevant.
Yeah, I think that's not that different, though, in a lot of places.
The NFL team is king?
Particularly out west.
Yes. Seattle, it's the Seahawks and whoever's winning.
Yeah, just virtually every city.
The Dodgers and Lakers in L.A. L.A.'s wired different because their NFL teams left. But, yeah, I mean, to your point,
but
Arizona.
always winning.
Arizona, yeah, right. That's true, too. Arizona, Seattle, Denver, San Francisco.
Well,
even the Giants have some
your
open
Padres.
stage. Yeah.
Place sells out every night.
They're winning
it's awesome.
now, right?
They got a good team. As good an atmosphere as you can want. Beautiful stadium.
They're looking for something after the NFL left, and the Padres have given it to them. It was a perfect time to go
Everybody's looking for something.
Yeah.
If you win, the Devils sold out every game last year. Every game.
Just win, baby.
Because they had won the year before. And they were okay enough. Had the hope of winning. And they want to build the momentum. Yeah, they sold out every game. And that probably hadn't happened since Frank Kush walked the campus.
How's Colorado going to make it to bowl eligibility?
I don't know. What's their schedule?
They got, Georgia Tech, Weber State, and Northwestern are the non-conference.
Weber's going to beat them.
Well, then it's over. If Eric Kerr goes in there,
if they lose to Weber, then they're in deep water.
They better start getting the $25 million buyout lined up,
if
right?
Weber beats them Monday morning, we're doing the show from Weber.
I'm in on that. 100%.
Live from Eric Care's office.
Have some purple ready, guys. We're coming up. We need some hats. We need some shirts. We're on the bandwagon. Let's go.
I've done a show from Weber State's press box.
I have too. If you go on the backside looking not to the state but looking west, phenomenal view out across Ogden to the lake. Oh, my gosh.
Everyone.
I know the geography lends itself to it.
I remember it was in the afternoon. I was subbing.
Oh,
in fact, is Lloyd right there? Yeah, Lloyd asked me, hey, can you do the afternoon show? I said, yeah. And then he tells me a little later, oh, yeah, you're on remote at Weber.
Just feed you one bit of info at a time. Get you committed.
After I said yes, then he told me, yeah.
Oh, and you got to drive an hour.
Yes, I can do it. Now you get to drive up to Weber.
And I've never forgiven him.
Well, that's
for many things, that included.
No, actually, I was doing it with Gordon. So I said, Gordon, you're driving. I'll drive to your house because I live more south than you. And so the two of us went up there, and it was during training camp when Jay Hill had one of his better teams. So we were sitting in the press box watching the team practice. And Jerry Bovee was the AD. He met us in the parking lot. And it was a lot of fun. They had a good team. And then Jay, after practice, came up and spent some time with us. And there was a while there. We were doing it. Weber was advertising heavily. We did during basketball season. We did some shows there.
We were up there in the Student Union building multiple times. Yeah. We were also at his. They had a golf tournament. We went to, and we saw.
I think it was the Country Club.
Jay Hill lash a ball 300 million miles down the middle of the fairway.
That's pretty long, 300 million. Yeah.
He got a hold of it. Had a tailwind too. Who are we kidding?
One of the playoff games, they had Adrian Lizer, our old friend. He and I go up there for a playoff game, and it was snowing outside. We're underneath one of the tents doing it outdoors.
Yeah, I remember that.
So we've done a lot of that stuff.
I remember watching that Friday in December, but freezing cold.
So assuming Colorado loses to Texas Tech and to Utah, and assuming they lose to ASU and Houston, they got to go 6-2 in their other 8 games, or they got to take down a big dog.
Well, I mean, that's the Big 12, though.
Okay.
Everybody's got to do it.
Don't see the path there, but maybe they'll make one. Maybe they'll make one.
But also on the flip side of that's the Big 12, I used to talk about there would be 2 or 3 head shakers in the Pac-10/12. Well, now as we're getting more familiar with the Big 12, there are head shaker teams. I wasn't necessarily saying head shaker teams. I was just saying upsets.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Devils, Dillingham. No,
some 4-win team.
Dillingham wasn't even there yet. And they beat Washington out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But that wasn't a good team. But that's what I was talking about. Here in the Big 12, you're having teams that end up being hugely surprise teams.
2 years ago, it was Colorado, and it was ASU.
Yeah, I don't think it really was Colorado 2 years ago.
It was a 4 or 5 game improvement. I mean, it was pretty massive.
Yeah, but I know. But they had
BYU.
2 stars at the top.
BYU, Colorado, ASU all went 7-2, tied for first place in the regular season, and none of them were picked high in the league. They were all picked down.
Yeah, I still don't think Colorado, but I get your point. They weren't picked high. But when you have that caliber of players, because I thought Shedeur was an outstanding college quarterback. We'll see what happens in the pro level, and Travis Hunter's talent speaks for itself. But I thought Shedeur running around there, doing what he did, throwing the ball, was just outstanding. And we'll see. That would be amazing if Isaac Wilson got that job.
Yeah.
Because I thought Lewis was the big 5-star, but you never know with quarterback, man. We've seen this a million times over. You just don't know about quarterback.
Colorado has 1 home game in their first 4. That Weber State game, game 2. They're at Tech in the opener, and then they're at Northwestern and Baylor. They got to win on the road, or they're 1-3, and they're coming home to play Texas Tech in Utah, and the whole thing can get away from them. So. We'll know early on. Colorado had some of these teams we've talked about, the whole schedule, like they'd better start, 5-1 because the back half's loaded. But Colorado could be in trouble right out of the gate.
Well, just stay above water and then cash in down the road.
Yep. All right, DJ PK, everything you missed in this show coming up next. Stay with us.
For Jazz fans, it's been a rough few years. Well, those days are behind us as the Utah Jazz finally struck gold in the NBA Draft Lottery.
Picking second.
As the Jazz prepare to draft a potential superstar with the number 2 overall pick, nobody will bring you better coverage of the NBA Draft than the KSL Sports Zone. For all the breaking news, high-profile interviews, and player analysis leading right up to draft night, keep it locked on your exclusive home of Utah Jazz basketball. 97.5. The KSL Sports Zone.
You know, obviously they dominated us 4-0, but yeah, I don't know if I can necessarily answer that question. Just because genuinely I do feel like we are the better team, but you know, series-wise, you know, it didn't show it. So tough question to answer.
It's like I read the headlines brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 1-855-TRAJAN1 or visit the website at TrajanWealth.com. There is James Harden on the Cavaliers getting swept. He thought they were the better team, which no one who watched all 4 games thought, but I guess you got to tell yourself whatever you got to tell yourself when they're in the locker room getting ready.
Guys say that too. It's not true, but they say it. You got beat 4-0. You got swept. You blew a 20-point lead in the fourth quarter.
And that was the only game you were competitive in. They dominated the other 3.
It's a stain on the season for Cleveland. A nice season, but it's a stain. Expect more in the conference final. Anytime you get to the conference final, you expect, unless there's some number 8 seed that's pulled off massive upsets, and then finally the truth levels out, you expect the conference final to be much more competitive. But it does happen. I mean, the Jazz swept the Lakers that one year.
98, yeah, took him down. It was quick. I was going to say it was painless, but, you know, not
Kobe
for them.
was a puppy.
He was.
Yeah. So he turned into...
Shaq couldn't defend the pick and roll.
What do you call a snake? He's a black mama. What do you call a puppy
snake? A baby snake? Yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't really work.
It doesn't.
We were golfing in St. George's Sunbrook over the weekend and saw a snake slithering right across the fairway.
How far away?
Well, as close as you wanted to get.
20 yards.
Oh, my wife took a bunch of pictures. She got way closer than that.
Oh, okay.
But you could see it, something moving, and then you get up there, yeah, and it was a snake. Snaking through the fairway. Had somewhere to go, I guess.
Big game tonight, Game 5, Spurs and Thunder. It's 2-2, PK. We talked about it on Friday. Can't be that surprising that it's 2-2, and here we are. I was only surprised the games weren't more dramatic. I thought the Thunder won comfortably, and the Spurs, that was a blowout.
Yeah, that was. You're talking about, what was it, Sunday?
Game 4, yeah.
Sure, yeah. Spurs jumped them, and they needed that game. They were a more desperate team, no question. And then Pop spoke to them.
Oh, thank goodness.
Whew. Where would they be without him? Where would we be without him? I mean, come on. And so now tonight, the sense of urgency is both. It's even. Because the venue hasn't meant anything.
Split 2 at home, split 2 on the road.
So
yep.
I don't really care where the game's being played. And when you get to this level, usually that's the case. But it'd be interesting to see the level of urgency with the Thunder because they didn't have it the other night. And they didn't look very good, obviously. And what are they going to do now? Now, it's just one game. We see blowouts from time to time. It doesn't necessarily reflect the way the series is going to go. And that's basketball. But it wasn't, even though the Spurs dominated, which they clearly did, it wasn't like they were playing at, oh, man, this is just our night. Everything's rolling. So that's a little scary from Oklahoma City's standpoint. But they've got the track record, and they've been in these difficult situations before. This is nothing new to them.
They didn't have the urgency in Game 4. They had it in Game 2 because they just dropped the home game. They had it in Game 3. I expect they'll have it again in Game 5 and that they'll win. I don't know if they'll summon it in 6.
You think the Thunder will win?
I would think the Thunder would win tonight.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Maybe.
I'm with you on I don't know. I mean, Wemby summons another 40 and 20. Now, they've been guarding him with bigs, and Hartenstein's done a pretty good job on him. The 40 and 20 was against, when they thought they'd get cute and guard him with smaller players.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is that they the other night, didn't look like, wow, player A blew me away.
Right.
Nobody really blew me away. It's just that they did their thing.
They did their thing. Well, I think what blew you away was that the Thunder managed just 82
It was those guys over
points.
there.
Good grief.
That's what I'm saying. But it's like the Spurs, game one, Wembanyama played out of his mind.
Right. Wembanyama won the game at the offensive end of the floor and with his rebounding. But this was a total
Game
defensive
4,
thing. The Thunder.
Like they just did what they're capable of doing. It wasn't like they needed superhuman efforts. They're very capable of doing game 4 and game 5.
But are they capable as a group of holding the Thunder to 33% shooting and 18% from the three-point line?
Well, some of it just matters if the shot goes in, but I think you have to give the team defensive credit when another team is struggling. Now, they maybe the Thunder, it's not happening for us. They lacked intensity. We got what we needed. We're 2-2. This is going to go the distance, and we're
going to go get game 5 and retake the lead.
Yeah, which is all that matters.
Right, which is their attitude in game 3. We're going to go retake the lead, and they did.
But they did that so comfortably, to see them come out and get smoked was a surprise.
We had Austin Ainge on earlier in the show. What did he say that you would like to relate to the people? It is up on Facebook, DJ and PK. It's on Twitter, David DJ James. You can watch the interview. It's up on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Yock's posting it everywhere.
They did not consummate a trade with Washington the day after the lottery order.
He couldn't wait to shoot that down. That cracked him up.
Well, I knew it was going to. I mean, I could tell you it was going to. Because I knew
it's much more methodical. There's no race to now we got to go.
Yeah, but it is on the sources said who was writing.
You got to have a report out immediately. Come on,
right. It's the competition now is so strong that you got to come up with something, even if there's like one shred, just barely a shred of truth.
That's all true.
Yeah,
it's I mean, they know it'll be a while before a trade is, they see each other. They know they're going to see each other. It'll be a while before the trade is done and announced, and it is a poker game.
Somebody told me that somebody told them this is, I am making a joke of this, so please, I am not reporting anything, but I'm talking about the rumor mill. Here locally, somebody said that somebody told them that they were willing to include Ace Bailey. Now, that is not me reporting it. I'm just saying. And I'm like, it gets so, you're getting like 15 people removed. And who maybe they visited with Ace DeBonsa, and he heard they're willing to include Ace DeBailey. Ace whomever, right? Ace Frehley of KISS.
Famous Aces. When I was just getting started and calling UC Santa Barbara Division III football games, and they're playing Redlands and Occidental and Cal Lutheran, those little schools down in L.A., they had a wide receiver named Johnny Ace. What a great name for a wide receiver.
I agree.
Johnny Ace.
Yeah.
He was small, but he's fast and he had great hands.
For your team or the other team?
D3. He was on the UC Santa Barbara team.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're going to do what they need to do, and we'll see what even if nothing happens, okay, fine. And then something will happen after that, because that's when they can go with free agency and trades and so forth, and they'll just pivot and go there. And we'll see how that works.
He couldn't go very far down that road because, as he said, it depends on who we draft. There's guys at the top of the draft who in this era of positionless basketball are about as different as you can be. I mean, the 2s, 3s, and 4s get pretty interchangeable depending on the guy. But
to an extent, but not completely, because he can recite without the list all the free agents that there would be interested. Now, he wouldn't do that, obviously, but he could already. There's no doubt in my mind. Hey, we like player XYZ, and I don't think that'll change much relative to who they draft. Because that's a free agent.
Right.
They've got the financial situations determined, blah, blah.
But is there one less wing guy they need, or is there one less guard they need because they draft one? And it's a little mushy because guys can swing between positions.
But free agents, if you like somebody, he's available now. So if you want him, you've got to get him now. So it shouldn't matter as much who's already there.
Austin did not want to paint himself into a corner there. He said, well, yes, because I was asking about a veteran ball handler. Somebody to help the perimeter and handle the ball. And yes, but he's got to be good enough. So he's got a list of the.
But that has no your framework has nothing to do with who they draft.
Right, but he says yes. They know they need a veteran.
Yeah,
and you can't. Of all the things you can draft, you can't draft a veteran. So that need is there, but they're not going to add a veteran just to add a veteran. Clearly, he's got a list of veterans he wants to add, and then he's got a list of other veteran players who are available that he does not want to add.
Right, so
And
that's why I don't think it matters.
Out.
The draft doesn't matter on that.
Right. That'll come down to playing time and money and fit and what the other offers are.
Competition.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think they'll get somebody in that or two. I think that if you want to go on that particular position, I think that who they draft could determine if it's one or two.
What will the Wizards do? Bum, bum, bum. Draft AJ. That's what they should do. But we'll see what they do.
Oh, I don't know that.
Really?
Yeah.
Still could be Peterson. They'll clear up all that
No,
stuff.
I think you can trade. And you want to help your team.
How far down would the Wizards trade? I can't believe they trade very far down.
Right.
Memphis?
Well, it's
Chicago. 3-4.
Squeeze these guys across the street here.
Yeah. I don't know that they're going to be squeezed.
See, but I think it's more about how bad they want DeBonsa. That's what I'm telling you. The guy who said he talked to somebody said, they want him real bad, and they're going to include Ace. Okay, sure. But if they want him real bad, suppose they do want him real bad. If they believe, then yes, include Ace.
It's a big ask.
It is. But that means you're believing to like 99.999%.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the outrageous would be, because we were talking about young guys don't produce. Well, there's a short list. Magic won a title. Duncan won one in his second year. Now, they had Kareem and David Robinson for teammates. There were pieces in place, but nonetheless, guys who excelled early.
It's not about winning a title your first year.
Shaq took a terrible team, a legitimately terrible team with no talent, and immediately made them 500.
Yeah.
There are guys who come in and move the needle right away. Bird did.
But even if they thought it was 2-3 year process.
That group.
Yeah,
if you think he's the best player, if he's going to be the best player on a championship team, and you're positive, the other guys are good players, but they're not that.
Yeah, but you don't know.
Then find a way.
And if they've come to that conclusion, now my instinct would say I wouldn't do that.
The easiest, most expensive way, or the easiest, most inexpensive way, would be for AJ to just play hard to get. Hey, I really don't want to come there. I'm really not going to want to re-sign there. You should make a deal.
Yeah,
that's the least expensive way for the Jazz. If he would just say that.
Although they could just say tough.
As the Jazz said a year ago with Ace Bailey. We'll take him.
The Jazz have to, whatever they're offering now, has to increase. If I'm Washington, I go up to the day of the draft. Here's what we want. Well, how about here's what we want. Well, how about, did you not hear what I just said? Here's what we want.
It's a poker game.
And then the day of, you can come off that.
No.
If they're offering something really good. But, I mean, basically, it is our four guys and then everybody else, yes. And if they should say that, and I would even go, if they really believed in AJ, then as many picks as you're allowed to give.
Picks, pick swaps, load up.
Right, whatever.
You can trade your first-round pick every other year. For 6 years, I think. So
2 or 3 of those. Any of these other players, Filipowski on down. And that's no knock on any of those guys.
But what have you got to take to get a guy if you think he's generational?
It's a question of would they come off that and include Bailey, my wonderful life backcourt, George Bailey. And I hope they don't, because as soon as
you want to use that line.
Yeah, once one of those guys gets traded, or if, well, then that line's dead. I want the wonderful life backcourt. George Bailey.
If you really believe he's one of the two guys who's going to dominate the game, we've seen runs. Magic and Bird did it. Shaq and Duncan did it. LeBron and Steph Curry just did it. We're out there winning 8 out of 9. You're the lead guy. Is he that kind of guy?
I don't think so. But I would say that just about anybody say, I don't think so. And that doesn't mean they're not great players. I would have said that about Kobe.
Jordan and Hakeem.
And he did it.
Jordan and Hakeem, yeah, 8 in a row between them. I was just thinking of the guys who actually have done it. I've just said like 4 duos who dominated, right? You don't win a title unless you have one of those guys because they win 8 out of 8 or 8 out of 9 or whatever. I think that's what Shaq and Duncan did. Shaq and Duncan were both those guys. Everybody knew it. We never sat and debated that.
Well, yeah.
Everybody didn't know.
They played multiple years of college.
Hey, you're right. Everybody didn't know Bird even after 5 years of eligibility. He was really good, but nobody knew that.
Okay, to that level? Does anybody know that to that level?
I think people were all in on LeBron to that level, but they were not all in on Steph to that level.
Oh, not even close.
I know. No.
I don't even know that the Magic was that level. I think you'd have to go back to Lou Alcindor.
Kareem was that level. Everybody's all in on that guy.
So,
but again, 4 years,
guys
4 years
in
of
50 years.
4 years of college and 3 titles.
Maybe
Duncan.
at most
were
5 guys in 50 years.
Yes, at most 5 guys. I'd agree. All right, DJ and PK, your feedback's coming up next. Stay with us. Join Scotty G and the coach, Tim Lacombe, Friday from 10 to 2 at Tim Dahle Mazda at 10785 South Automall Drive in Sandy.
My favorite place.
Your favorite place?
Sandy.
Okay.
Nice community.
Your religious neighborhood in Sandy.
Nice people.
As the traffic.
Well,
JT,
a lot of people have sold. We got a lot more heathens moved in.
Oh, man. You just can't help yourself, can you?
Oh, you should see him. Outrageous.
Oh, man. All right.
Just kidding.
Question of the morning. A lot of reaction to this. So the Cavs finding out what the current Jazz brass has long since known. All about Donovan. Dude is Houdini. Flat out disappears, Ben says.
That's not true.
No. He went for 30. He didn't flat out disappear. Now,
and he didn't play the last 8-9 minutes. There was garbage time.
He doesn't have a major impact on the defensive end or on the rebounding. You know, it's scoring driven. And can he pass the ball and get other people? But that's his game going in, and that's his game. And so he didn't disappear.
No, he has not.
Not
you're
good
right.
enough.
He's limited.
Right.
He's good in what he does.
Right.
But he doesn't affect the game across the board.
He was second team All NBA. If that does something for you, they're saying he's one of the top 10 players in the league. And even if you want to argue that, and I'm sure a lot of you do, but even if you do, like, all we're arguing here is he 8th? Is he 13th? Is he 16th? We're not arguing if he's really good. He's really good.
I wouldn't go top 10.
And we're not arguing he's outside the top 20. They're not doing that. So...
And you got injuries that factor in and all that stuff.
Yep.
So, and when you put together a top whatever list, you're not factoring injuries.
Clark says the sweep's not on Donovan. He played about as well as you'd hope. He's not going to carry a team deep into the playoffs, though. His defense is below average. I'm not sad we moved on. I don't like the Harden Lillard types that play offense only. The plus-minus in those types, never good.
Okay. That's reasonable. That's a reasonable
You can
take.
live with all of that?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm rooting for the Knicks and Clarkson. That dude deserves a title. He's one of my favorite Jazz members. Ravuth.
And I once was speaking to Jerry Sloan, and I said the word deserve. You don't deserve anything. You earn it. I don't deserve it. And the way he said it to me, so matter of fact.
Didn't want to argue with him, did you?
Never wanted to argue
When Jerry
with him.
got that tone going, the debate's over.
Right. I mean, he was listening, and he gave me really good answers. Yeah. But we're talking about deserving, and I was going on length of careers, the grinding nature of the statues, the grinding nature of Coach Sloan. He didn't want to hear it. No, he didn't know.
I'm with Michael. His third sentence, well, even a second one. I love DM. Okay, you can love whatever player you love, and some people love stars and some love role players. That's a whole interesting thing. Everybody seems to love the little guy, not the big guy. But here we go. I don't like playoff hero ball. It's too easy to defend. It's not what got you there. Yes. You are very big on you like basketball when the ball moves, and it is much harder to defend a team when the ball moves. The best teams have 5 guys who can score it and 5 guys who can pass it.
No question about that.
Guys aren't open for long, and they aren't open by much. Are you a good and accurate passer, and can you anticipate it? Because by the time you see it and you make the pass, a lot of times the moment's gone. It closes up again.
That's what I grew up on Nick basketball in the 70s.
And the ball moved.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It was nobody was bigger than anybody else.
Yep.
In
Bing,
terms
bing,
of
bing.
stature, and I can name you that starting lineup. And that ball moved, and guys moved. Bill Bradley, they were talking about perpetual motion, constantly cutting, blah, 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 blah. And they played the game, and that's the way I was basically taught to watch the game. But at the same time, you put yourself in these guys' positions, and if I throw you the ball, what are you going to do with it? And I'm better off in my hands. The Jordan's just demanding that Kerr hit that shot. Okay. You've got to have that level of confidence. Now, Kerr was a shooter, and that's how he was in the league, right? And he's a good shooter, obviously. But Jordan Stockton's going to come, and they're going to double team me, and I'm going to throw you the ball. And it's unspoken. You're going to hit that shot, or I'm going to just do something unkind to you.
Well, he'd already punched him once.
And
I will punch you again.
And if you're Kerr, wait a minute, this guy's got all these titles, and he's giving me the ball. Yeah, I'm ready to go.
But it's also not the whole punch you. It's like, wow, Michael Jordan's
That's what I'm talking about. I'm not from a negative threat.
I'm going to make it.
He's instilling that confidence.
Yeah.
But, Kobe's talked about that, or guys talked about Kobe. Well, why do I throw it to you? You're not going to do anything with it. And so the guy who's the man on the team, LeBron has been hit with that, I think, unfairly and unjustly. Oh, he's so willing to pass. Well, if the guy's open, yeah, you should be. And LeBron has been willing to do that. And then if the guy misses a shot, well, LeBron, what were you doing?
I think that whole thing has been, that's where analytics has backed it up, that you'd rather have a lesser player have a wide open shot than a better player have a contested or double team shot. You just can't go into the teeth of the defense
all the time. Sure, but he's LeBron. He's not just a better player.
Well, granted, when you get to the LeBrons and the Magics, who are bigger and more athletic than the people matching up with, they rise above double teams, and it still becomes an open shot.
It's a quandary.
I get that.
Well, Jordan, and you've got Kerr, Paxton.
Yep.
So yeah, the guys are known for hitting shots,
right?
And Phil Jackson had to get Jordan to the point of willing to do it. It's a tricky thing.
It'll be interesting to watch the Knicks because Brunson plays a lot of hero ball. He's also borderline unstoppable. Left, right, stop, start, head fake, cut the other way. I mean, my gosh, he's hard to stay in front of. Just unreal. But with Wembanyama waiting in the finals, or with a Thunder team that's very good defensively, I mean, everybody defends, you don't get on the floor. Is he going to have the room to operate, or is he going to come up short? That'll be fascinating when we get there.
Yeah,
but that's
I
next
don't
month.
think we're picking the Knicks.
Nope, none of us are, but nonetheless,
it's a series.
Here they are, right? Yeah.
Well, if the Knicks win, then it's my Knicks back in the 70s. I just want you guys to know that ahead of time.
I grew up with
you had a Knicks hat?
I grew up with a sportscaster.
I don't know if I got one. I'll have to look.
I grew up with a sportscaster who would literally put up on the screen my Padres, your Padres, and it was just based solely on whether they won. All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.